Nobody's ever gonna hold me down. The night is young and we're friends. Nobody's ever gonna throw me down. There's nothing left you can say. trapped inside this spell. Now I feel it. Now I feel it. Your demons drag me close to hell. I can feel it.
Hello everyone and welcome to the SQ1 coverage of the NLC Fall Open Qualifiers. I am your host, Dara Darkselmecko, and joining me is the gruesome twosome Alex Nymeria Hapgood and Sam Initialize Hapgood. They just happen to have the same second name. I'm making this joke again, boys, but
we don't know each other.
to the
No,
analyst
never known him.
desk.
I neither live in the same house and nor am I related to him, nor am I his older
Never
brother
met
or
him
anything like
once
that.
in your
No.
life.
No, might not be related, but I am really happy to be here with both of you guys. Really looking forward to this tournament.
I think it is going to be a great one, and SQ1 will be bringing you all of the coverage of the NLC both this weekend and next weekend, so you're stuck with us for the 2 weeks. So let's go over the bracket,
Beautiful.
gentlemen, and give an overview of how SQ1 will bring you all this great coverage with our even more revamped and updated production. So great job to everyone in the producing bracket there. So we'll be covering one match from each round and update all you lovely people once we receive them. Firstly, we'll be covering round 1, match 1 of Masonic versus Barrage. In round 2, we'll be covering M&M Gaming versus the winner of Atlando Esports. I almost got that wrong. And
Well done.
Wizard Esports. From there, we'll be following the winners all the way to the finals. Now, Namera, Initialize, what are some of the normal matchups or teams that you want to take up note here?
See, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the real sitter, and it's going to be Barrage, and whoever they face. They have a pretty notable player coming into their lineup for this tournament of the name of Senkux, and those of
name.
you who have followed the history of European League of Legends will know that's a bit of a big name to be coming down into these shallow waters. So whoever wins out of Enclave and London Esports going up against them, that'll be what I'm looking at. But honestly, any NLC team is one to watch.
I'll take the other sitting duck then, which of course is the fact there are a lot of NLC teams in this bracket, and there are a lot of new rosters in this bracket, which means for all of these kind of teams we might throw out at you over the next few minutes, there is a lot up in the air. There is a lot to prove, and for once, the bracket is honestly pretty wide open because there is so much that is kind of new and to be seen whether it's improved. But I think some of the other names, of course, Nordvind definitely comes to mind. The likes of M&M, as we've kind of said. Any of those NLC teams, Dusty, any of those guys could definitely make a play for the championship here, or at least the qualifiers. So definitely be keeping an eye on the NLC squads for sure.
And every match counts, every series counts, because once you lose a series, you are out of here, but we'll cover that later on, get a little bit ahead of ourselves. So before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's first cover Barrage Academy. What's some information about this team outside of what we've seen recently in the UKLC?
So there are some changes to this roster, as we've been talking about with everyone else. Particularly, we have Flipper and Den Vosner coming in from the main lineup, dropping down into the Academy roster. And that, of course, gives them a lot of motivation to strut their stuff today and show that, hey, we are worthy of being on the main roster, which we've just talked about as one of the tournament favorites. Whereas everyone else, of course, I believe Ak is also in the top lane as another returning name too from this roster. But everyone else is looking to secure their berth here and give themselves a real showing in front of you, lovely audience.
Indeed, I've got to call out as well, of course, it is completely new to the competitive scene, lurks in the mid lane, so complete rookie here looking to make a debut, really high up in Challenger, guys, 1000+ LP, loves his Talon, loves his Echo. Yet to be seen whether he'll be confident to pull those out on stage here in the competitive scene, but there is a little bit of a hint that this guy could be a bit of a firebrand on stage.
We have seen Echo in competitive quite a bit. We've seen it in jungle, in mid lane. It's a bit of a flex pick, but Talon, no, we really don't see Talon at all.
It would be a bold pick. I'd be excited for it, but it'd be a bold pick.
Like last pick Talon, where it's like, yes, just lock this in. It's like when Caps picked up Vayne against Galio. It just works. But
sometimes.
Well, the thing with old Vanier mid is that at least that has somewhat of a niche it can fit into. Talon, not quite so much. But we won't dive in too much onto that. See, that's for the casters to dive into.
It is. They get all the fun talking points. Right. So we talked a little bit about Barrage. We have to talk a bit about their opponent, which is Masonic. So Initialize, take us a little bit through them.
Yeah, again, we've got a fair amount of new members to this squad. There are a couple guys who are still sticking around, though. Of course, Greasent and Munkers are still remaining on that roster from where they were in summer, but the rest of the squad looking fairly new. Of course, we're looking at Bushy, Krogson, and Champion coming into the roster. And again, fair amount to prove here. Munkers, in particular, is another ex-Barrage member from a year or so ago.
Yeah.
So, kind of an interesting bit of storyline that I won't call them rivals. We won't do that to them, but
No, not yet.
again,
That's
had a rough. But again, it's one of those things where it's fun to see those kind of tied narratives in and around. So we'll be keeping our eyes on him for sure as well.
Because obviously, as casters and broadcasts, we're very aware that we don't want to impart narratives onto players who we don't have that rapport with. However, it is still this connection that we have between them. It is a narrative to follow. So yes, there is this kind of Barrage connection we can look at.
Well, we can elucidate a little bit more later on once we have a little bit more information on the teams, on how the brackets progress. But I think it is time to talk about priority picks. It is one of the most vital bit of the League of Legends competitive scene. It is your drafting. Now, we are on patch 10.19. That is the world's patch. Is there anything that we need to be expecting of these two teams?
Yeah, probably got to keep
anyway.
our eyes
leave
on
it at that.
Yeah, just quite a lot of important things. We'll leave it there.
Leave it there.
Of course. I think anybody who's been following the thank you, man. I think anybody who's been following the competitive scene on 10.19 will know that it is a very jungle-focused meta. All the lanes are looking to find a way to make sure your jungler can get ahead. There was a fabulous video put out by Kelsey Moser, I think earlier today, which basically said, look, the way you play jungle at the minute means you have 2 pushing lanes. That means your jungler can get a 2-level advantage on the right champions. That is insane. No other player in the game can do that right now versus their opponent. And that means things like Nidalee, like Graves, to an extent Lilia can all be doing that. The question then whether these particular junglers will be happy to do that, because it's not been historically what they've always gone to.
No, maybe not. No, sorry, go on.
No, go on.
So I was saying that Sam was saying that while the jungle champions have been able to get that 2-level lead and in a way which is almost kind of expected if you have the right matchup. If you pick Volibear and you don't get ganks off, and Lilia just gets to run into the enemy jungle, Graves gets to run into the enemy jungle, take scuttles too. Yeah, in the mid game, you're going to be 2 levels down. You're just going to be a sack of HP versus these farming junglers. I think one thing which really does change this, though, is these priority picks we got on screen, though, because someone like a Lucian, someone like a Camille, in the right matchup can do the same things. They're not necessarily as powerful as this class of champions from the jungle right now, but that's why these picks are on your screen too.
So does this mean that they need to be drafting early game for 2 lanes at least so that they can get that 2-level lead that you mentioned over the jungle opponent? Something like the Talon that we mentioned earlier on, not something that I'm expecting, but it is early game sort of oriented champion that can have that level 2 power spike, can get the priority.
So if I could rephrase, I kind of get where you're going, but I think early game is kind of the wrong word for it. I'd say lane priority, because you can be a scaling pick that still has priority in lane. If you've got wave clear, if you've got push into your matchup and you just scale better as well, then you've kind of got the whole picture. And that's kind of more the issue, is like, who can get the lane pushed out further to come and get to their jungle faster? Certain picks can kind of cheat that. TF, Galio, and that's partly why they're so important right now as well. Hell, Pantheon as well, for the fact that his ultimate means he can turn up wherever the hell he likes. But that's kind of something you look for, is do you have lanes which can push in, can get to the jungler first?
Well, it's all about those picks to watch, as Vedius would say. And it's another reason why the TF and Galio are so versatile, so high priority, because of that global pressure that they can give. It's one of the reasons why Shen is so good, and also because he was insanely good, and then they buffed him for no reason at all. But it has come to the time where we touched on it a little bit earlier on. Players like Munkus, players like Akers, but who are your star players going into this matchup? Who are we watching?
Is it about star players for me, or is it about someone that just enables their team? It's a little hard to say. I know that Sam's had his eyes on Den Voxner over on the side of Barrage Academy, had some really good numbers from the ADC position. I do want to talk about Krogson in this mid lane for Masonic, though, because of what he allows his team to do. You can see the champions we've got on screen right there. That's actually the other way. I'm going to point that way, don't I? You can see that he has a lot of champions which you'd think should be played in top lane, but he just chucks them down into the mid lane and makes them work. Shen, Mordekaiser. They're all champions which we have seen sparingly in the mid lane. This guy has still kind of kept them in his wheelhouse and allows his team to maybe early pick them, keep them as a flex pick, and allow that counter pick to come in either for mid or top lane, depending on how the enemy team drafts around those picks as they come in, and how that allows you to get, as you were saying and asking us earlier, about those priority laning picks, which will then in turn help your jungler.
I'll also throw a little bit of a shout out here to our caster duo of Aladar and Rail, who did a little bit of research into Lurks and, of course, into Krogson as well, and basically noted like that's a lot of deaths per game for Krogson. And
just
he's of course, that's on a control mage, but of course he gets involved in a lot of kills too, so there's something to that. So that's not necessarily flame, but he is into a guy who.
I believe the phrase is "fight me."
1v1 me.
No mirror has put it out right, but that's kind of the idea here, where potentially if you're into a guy who likes assassins, likes Echo's Talon, maybe if you're on a control mage, that could end up being punished. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how that matchup actually plays out. But just before, we only have 2 or 3 minutes left, but just before we throw over to our casters, who are you giving it to for this matchup? What are your predictions?
So I think a big thing about this tournament, because day one of a tournament is almost as exciting as the last day too, because we get to see a lot of new rosters trying to figure out what the heck they're doing in a new tournament and a new meta where we haven't seen the other teams play for a while. Because there is an infrastructure we know in Barrage as one of these NLC teams, I think I would give the edge to them to at least get their players settled in this first best of 3.
I'll echo that sentiment. I think you've got a returning player in Akers. You've got 2 guys who come down from the main squad who are part of the organization still in there. I think that will give them a slight edge. Whether or not that plays out is another matter. Of course, there is still roster shakeups on both of these squads. It's still a new tournament, still a lot to prove. We kind of skipped over it a little bit with the kind of the jungle match, but here saying, actually, these guys had a bit of a rough up and down year, and they've got a lot to prove here if they want to kind of rise back up the ranks. And my eyes will be there as well, because that could change things, but I'll still have to give it towards Barrage Academy for now.
Do you think that this might change over a best of 3, since there is some room for improvement throughout the series? If you do drop that first game, you still have 1, perhaps 2 left to go.
Absolutely. One of my favorite things about Best of Series is adaptation. I am such a nerd when it comes to League of Legends. I just love thinking about it on a strategic level. I love thinking about, what would I do if I was the coach here? What would I do if I just lost to this pick, which came up in a really awkward point for us as a team? We're not at the level where everyone has infinite champion pools. We're not at a level where everyone has practiced the same amount of comps as all the other teams. This could be the kind of thing where you're just trying to find the pieces you have available to them and then try and slot them into the right places.
Initialize, do you have anything to say after that?
I think that's covered a lot of what I want to say, but I will say another place to potentially keep your eyes on. Maybe keep your eyes on someone like Champion as well, who's been a bit of a Camille player. That can always be a little scary if you're wanting to pick on and stuff. So that could be a bit of a firebrand to keep your eyes on. Loves his carries. Don't know how well that'll translate to stage, but it'll be worth keeping our eyes on.
Well, I think we have 1 more minute. If you have any closing remarks, we can talk a little bit about this Camille, actually, since you did just mention it. Camille can be a little bit of flex. We haven't seen it in the mid lane in a while, but you said in certain situations it can work out. Actually, I think it was you, Naimara, that actually mentioned it earlier on.
Hang on a second. I was talking about the other top laners. That's
Shannon Orr moved in.
No, I mean, I actually have seen a little bit in solo queue, but yes, no, there are definitely some abilities.
That's because you play Ari,
across the map. That is very, very true. I do think that it will be a lot about how these teams figure out what works for them. To hell with the meta. Let's see what works for these teams.
Well, I think that will be it from us for the time being. We're going to throw it over to our casters to get us into the game.
All right, hello and welcome everybody to the NLC Fall Open Qualifiers Round 1. We are your casters here today. My name is Jacob Aladar Hancock, and I'm delighted to say that alongside me for this one is Marcus Rail Samson.
Formerly known as Virus, so a lot of people might not even recognize me at the moment, but big game we got today, Barrage Academy versus Masonic, and we talked about one thing with Barrage Academy. We've got 2 players what more or less got moved down from their main team in Flipper and Den Voxney.
Yeah, definitely. So there's definitely a lot for them to prove in this one. Flipper Denvoxne were part of the relatively underperforming Barrage main team roster. They did okay in the NLC season last time out in the summer season, but didn't get that far into playoffs. And since then, Flipper and Denvoxne have been relegated to the Academy team, where we will be seeing them today, and they'll be just that extra bit more eager to prove themselves.
Yeah, that's for sure. And we're going to have some very high prio picks. Like the analyst desk have been talking about, there's a lot of lane dominant champions, what they're going to want to pick up. Camille's definitely going to get contested. We already know this by looking at both Napoleon and just the top lane champion pool in general. Both of them play a lot of Camille, and she's so strong on this current patch. You'll see the typical matchup of Camille versus Volibear quite a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And also, both of these top laners are basically carry players. They don't really like to play the tanks. They'd much rather be on the Camille side of that matchup, that's for sure. And we may well see some quite spicy matchups up there as a result of that fact. I'd love to see the Camille versus the Fiora, maybe a Jace thrown in there, something like this, something to really liven things up on the top side of the map.
And another pick we heavily talked about was the Graves. So we didn't expect Flipper to play it, but the more we looked into it, he does actually play the Graves. And this could actually end up being Graves into an Italy matchup if they're not careful, and depending on how they're going to play out the bans, because you've got picks like Lucian still lurking around. Lucian, very high priority and pretty much a must play right now.
Yeah, and if Flipper does go onto that Graves pick, it would be a very different look for Flipper compared to what we saw in the NLC summer season, because he was playing tanks pretty much exclusively, and he was playing very low farming junglers. His CS per minute was really very, very low indeed. And that's not necessarily something you'd expect if you're going to be playing Graves. So if he is going to be picking that champion up, expect to see a rather different playstyle. But maybe after a rather unsuccessful summer split, that's just what he needs.
And another thing we was looking at, there's a lot of emphasis on Lurks this game. He's coming in more or less unproven, very high ranking in Challenger, so he's already got the skills there, but can he deliver his skills into team play is what we're going to watch. He plays things like Talon, Echo, not really the type of things you see that often in mid lane for team play, so we need to see how he can translate into these games.
But what that does tell you about him, right, is that that's a guy who likes agency. He likes to know that he can do stuff. He can make plays. And he can roam around the map as well. They're pretty mobile picks. They can get a lot done. And I hope that that's the playstyle we're going to be seeing from Lurks. It'll be interesting to see whether he's got the confidence to translate what he can do with that in that regard in solo queue, get that onto the competitive stage, and actually start to really take over and dominate the game, as we would expect someone of his raw caliber to be able to do. But the lack of experience might make him just a little bit shaky on that front.
Yeah, and experience is where Masonic come in a bit more better, because they have the more experienced mid lane in this matchup. But Krogson does die a lot, like was iterated. He does tend to get these 1v1 deaths, and with a player like Lurks, he could actually be looking for these 1v1 fights. He could literally just be saying, fight me, like, I want to fight you.
Yeah, there could well be fireworks in the middle lane, and I would very much love to see that. But now we will actually get into the pick and ban phase, and it will be revealed to us exactly what we will be seeing. Will we be seeing the assassin for Lurks that we are hoping for, or will we not? We'll just have to wait and see, as the first bans will be coming through now. And Camille straight away off the board. Fiora soon to follow as well. So both of those targeted squarely in the face of Champion.
So not really surprised seeing a Nunu ban as well. Nearly 500 games on Flipper. I think it's like 490 in total, which is an absurd amount of games on Nunu. And Nunu is very strong right now. You don't typically see him in team play, but when you're that good at him, like, he's definitely an option. So just getting him out the way already is a very good option.
Skarner, another one as well. That's another direct target ban. That's aimed squarely at Flipper. Syndra will be banned away. Just a strong all-round mid lane pick. Always tends to be pretty lane dominant, so makes sense to take that one away as well. And the Ornn going to be the final ban coming through from Masonic.
Ornn always very, very consistent, so not really surprised ever seen him banned. He always just works no matter when you pick him, where you pick him. So getting rid of him just limits the pool a little bit more. And obviously banning 2 carry top laners kind of iterates that you might want to go a more tanky top laner. So,
and the lock-in has been Lilia for Barrage Academy. And now Flipper, that's not necessarily a name we'd associate with Lilia play. So again, this is going to be another different look for Flipper, and he's not going on to the Greys. It is going to be the Lilia, and then Hecarim is the response from Masonic, interestingly enough.
It could be the Hecarim Shen combo. Shen is still open here, and it is a very deadly combo. It's played quite often, but Hecarim's still a good answer. Still actually is a flex. Still can be played in that top lane. I like the pickup of Lilia first by Barrage Academy. I feel like she's one of the strongest junglers on the patch. And she does really well in the likes of Graves. So, like, picking Graves into Lilia just becomes really difficult.
Indeed. And the Ashe has also been locked in for Masonic. So that's going to be going into the hands of Bushy, who has been taking a bit of a break, whether intentionally or not, from competitive play over the course of the last year. So picking up the Ashe, a nice, simple, safe pick, might make sense. And there it is. And now the Ashe doesn't feel so safe anymore because the Talon has been locked in for Lurks. And oh my God, you love to see it.
We love to see it. We expected something spicy. I didn't expect the Talon game 1, but they left it open and Lurk said, you know what? I'm confident with this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's lock it in, boys. Let's play it.
Yeah, it's thrown down the gauntlet. If you're gonna disrespect me, if you are gonna disrespect my 600 Talon games in solo queue, I'm gonna lock it in, and that's exactly what we've seen happen. The Lulu coming through, probably going to support, but could also be flexed up towards the top side as well for Champion. Champion has actually played Karma top fairly recently, so the Lulu would be a similar sort of idea to that. So I could see that going into his hands, certainly. The Jhin also for Dane Voxner, we will not be seeing him going to his trademark of Phelios.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's not get deceived by Lulu. Right now, she's being played top, mid, support. It's kind of crazy that she's popping back into laners, and she's commonly played into tanks. If she's ever going to be played top, she's played into like a tank where she can just bully him out and just pressure him really hard and just provide the same utility of what that tank's going to do by arriving in these team fights, getting the CC down, empowering her allies. So it's still an option. Obviously, we've seen some picks banned out. We've got rid of the Thresh now to give Lulu a bit more safety, just in general, and a Cassiopeia ban.
Yeah, and that Thresh ban also aimed at Yepahao. Yepahao likes to play as hook champion, shall we say. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see the Nautilus coming through as well. It's actually going to be the Leona. So not quite a hook champion, but similar sort of idea. Very much an engaged tank support. And Yepahao will be denied that one. That does leave the Nautilus up and available for him if he wants to pick it, though. And yeah, the Cassiopeia ban intrigues me. Do you have any particular reason that would be taken away?
Just generally into Talon, you can sort of suppress him a little bit. You can stop him from roaming as easily. Obviously, you can still roam because he's still Talon, but you can pressure him more when he tries to go for that wave clear before he goes for that roam. So just getting it off the table, just giving you more security, more safety, it just fits a lot better here. And obviously, Cassio actually does really well into Lilia too, just in general.
Okay, this might explain why the Nautilus wasn't banned away here. If it's going to be locked in, and it is, so that's going to be the Lulu either mid or top. That's still flexible, though. It could be either one of them. Krogson definitely plays a wide array of champions in the middle lane, so Lulu, I'm sure he could pick up and put in his arsenal, no problem. And so Yepahao will be denied both the Nautilus and the Thresh that he loves so much. Played Swain a little bit recently, just saying. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to pick it right now, but I'm just saying. And yeah, the Silas ban also came through for Barrage Academy.
So this adds up a lot more why they banned Thresh and Leona, because they wanted to take the last hook champion. They obviously said that we don't want to play Leona anyway, so we're just going to ban Leona, and we're going to ban Thresh away from Jeppe, and picking up the Nautilus. So more than likely, you're going to be Lulu top into this Malphite, which Malphite is one which has started popping up a bit more, which kind of came as a surprise resurgence. He has always been consistent. He's always been decent. He's never really been amazing, but now he's coming back to this meta a bit more.
Yeah, and that's going to be going into Merpillion's hands on Barrage Academy, I believe that is. And then the Bard locked in as well for Yepahao. So, yeah, not quite the same sort of champion bit. Maybe forced a little bit away from what he's most comfortable on. The final lock-in for Masonic is the Vladimir. And that still leaves them flexing between mid and top. At the moment, it's Champion on that Vladimir with Krogson on the Lulu. But that could still change.
It can definitely still change. So more than likely, I expect the Vladimir top with the way they've drafted now into the Malphite. It's honestly a fine laning phase because you just want to scale. Malphite can't really punish you too much early. And Lulu is going to want to deny Talon Roman, which is still going to be hard because this is Lurk's Talon. It's not just any Talon.
Yeah, I guess what the Lulu does provide you with is a lot of safety if the Talon does get on top of you. You've got your own ultimate ability once you get to that point, the Wild Growth. You can also shield yourself. You can turn Talon into a Munchkin if you'd like. So maybe Krogson might not be dying quite so much as usual in the mid lane this game. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, up against that Talon, I'd want something that was going to make me feel just that little bit safer.
And to add on that, the Lulu synergizes really well with this Hecarim pick. Hecarim going for Ghost here as well. Imagine the Lulu speed up on top of that. Hecarim is going to have so much AD damage that he's just going to burst your squishies, and especially the likes of Jhin. If he's left on his own, that guy's going to die really, really fast here.
Yeah, certainly. So if we look at the bottom lane now, if we take a look down there, how do you expect to see this one playing out in the early stages, at least with the Jhin and the Bard on the one side against the Ashe and the Nautilus?
So the Bard can actually be pretty damn good into this lane. And obviously, both laners want to play aggressive. Jhin wants to play aggressive. Jhin, we've seen a lot of play recently. Even in pro play today, we've seen Suning play Jhin to very good success. And he just provides the extra utility for your team. But Ashe still provides that utility on the other side with the slows, with the stuns. So it's honestly going to be hard to say which way this bot lane is going to go. I would probably give the priority to Ashe Nautilus to start, but it can honestly go either way.
And looking at the Barrage Academy team comp as a sort of whole unit here, it seems to me like quite a lot is being invested in Lurks right now. There's a lot of confidence being placed in the debutant here. And I mean, it's nice to see that, but Lurks has definitely got something to live up to with this Talon pick right now, with the Malphite on the top, and a bit more of a utility-focused AD carry. Jhin can still obviously do quite a lot of damage, but, a bit more utility-focused. So kind of quite a lot of eggs in the Lurks basket, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm expecting a lot from it, to be honest. To be this brave picking it, they're showing they have this trust in Lurks. They're showing that they are confident playing it in team play. They've obviously probably worked around with it in scrims and provided a strategy to make it work. So maybe just Lilia Talon roam together, or just Talon Malphite could just start moving around together and just form a gank squad. So definitely a lot of trust on Lurk's shoulders. And is he going to live up to his potential? Is going to be the main story of what we're going to be listening to.
Yeah, and conversely, not so much trust being put onto Mapillion here, who is having to go for a bit of a different ethos, being put basically on Malphite duty. I mean, he's a carry player, right? He wants to be playing those carries, but in this instance, acknowledging that it's best for the team if he picks just the tankiest top laner he can muster, and with Ornn banned out, that's Malphite.
Yeah, and why not? Like we said, Malphite is generally just really solid. A lot of them just go for the Glacial Rush just for like that CDR, so they can just get more ultimates out. But it is against the Vladimir, so building armor isn't going to be that consistent for you. And there's not much in terms of any other hard AP damage. There's Lulu, but she isn't going to be building like typical AP. She'll be building more supportive, more like the Athenes, Ardent, Redemption sort of Lulu. So it's definitely going to be a big mix.
Here we are then on to Summoner's Rift for the first time in the NLC Fall Open Qualifiers. Game 1 of the series between Barrage Academy versus Masonic. The winner of this will advance to play Dusty in the second round. The loser will be knocked out for this weekend, but will have a chance to battle back in the second weekend of these qualifiers. But yeah, best of 3 series, so we've seen quite an interesting draft in this one. Quite a few things revealed, although maybe they weren't necessarily that well hidden. I mean, Lurks, everyone and their mother could have told you that Lurks was a Talon player. But yeah, wonder if this game goes so strongly in Barrage Academy's favor, I could see a rather different set of bans going through from Masonic next time around.
Yeah, definitely so. But Masonic do have a lot of follow-up CC. So if they manage to get this dredge line onto the Talon, there's the polymorph going to follow straight on top of that, which is a very long duration, and people always underestimate. There's an Ashe Crystalline Arrow to add on top of that. They have so much follow-up CC if they catch someone, so it's very scary to deal with. They have a really good pick comp.
Nice little delayed invade there for Masonic. Yepao and Dimvoxner trying to get onto them, but actually both eating the volley damage, and now Greason goes in with the dredge line as well. The Aftershock doing some damage. Yepao getting low, but similar story for Grease. And overall, Masonic win the trade. Voxner critically didn't actually manage to get that fourth shot off, which could have made a big difference in the health bars in the early stage of this lane. And Masonic already with a big advantage. And another hook lands from Grease and Bushy, going really aggressive. Ignite going down, cleanse away, and Dame Voxner forced to flash. And wow, that's definitely not a good start for Barrage Academy.
The cleanse was actually life-saving too. Like, imagine if he didn't have cleanse there. He's 100% dead. And they're showing their dominance in lane already. Bushy not being afraid, trusting in his Nautilus. Nautilus getting these key hooks on to Jin here.
Yeah, and that all came. That was Barrage Academy's decision to take that a little scrap in the bottom river as well. They knew the delayed invade had come through from Greason and Bushy. They knew they'd be walking down there. They wanted to intercept them and win the trade, and they just lost the trade. It was as simple as that. So yeah, really, really rough start now for Dame Voxner in particular on that Jin 0 CS compared to the 12 on his lane opponent Bushy at the moment. And Bushy being back in competitive play for the first time for a while, that's going to feel pretty good.
Definitely going to feel good. They're showing their dominance. 14 CS to 3. Just keeping the pressure on this bot lane now. Can they get the protection they need to constantly be this aggressive? So far, Hecarim's low. So Hecarim's not going to be able to do much, but they're going to help him secure this scuttle crab here.
Yeah, looks like on towards the bottom side on that. Both junglers are in the area roughly, with Flipper currently doing the Krugs. Oh, actually, they're going to go for an early gank here as well, just trying to put Dame Voxner even further behind. He's got no summoners, he's got no hope, and he's got no life. And he gets taken down now. First blood going over to Bushy, and it just gets worse and worse for Barrage Academy.
Has Grissom missed a hook yet? I don't think he has. This man is very confident on his Nautilus, and look at this mid lane pressure from the Lulu.
Yeah, Lurks forced away there by Krogson. Definitely, Krogson actually winning out those trades early. Flipper was in the area, so it wasn't going to get too hairy for Lurks there, and Lurks smartly running towards the side of the river that contained his own jungler. So good awareness, at least on the map, but that's pretty basic stuff. Will Flipper look to go aggressive towards the middle lane here? No. Just going to go for an invade instead. Might be able to take away the Krugs, as Monkeys is still on the bottom side of the map.
So I want to talk about how well this bot lane gank was set up, because it was really done well by Bushy and Grissom. They both pushed that lane in, got the early summoners, and then just said, Hecarim, come down here. Trust me, we can get a kill. And Grissom providing the hooks. Hecarim just showing up for the right time.
Yeah, and now, you know, we said it was a lot was on Lurks going into this game. Even more now is on Lurks, now that Dame Voxner has been made a pretty significant non-factor in this very early game. He has been bullied beyond belief thus far, and now Greason heading to the middle lane as well to try and put the pain onto Lurks. The hook lands once again. Lurks is so low, but will just about be able to escape. Now Greason in trouble. Krogson as well. Flipper over the wall, coming back from the invade, takes down one. It's going to be a double as well. And Flipper on the Lilia, we question whether he'd be able to make that pick work, but he's definitely making it work thus far.
Lurks who? We don't need Talon. We got Flipper providing the goods on Lilia here. Also, the counter roam there was really well done. It looked like Grissom had the perfect roam again, getting the hook landed, but it turned out to get turned on its head, and they are the ones punished for it.
Yeah, and Grissom, yeah, landing the hook again, so you can't fault him for that, but in the end, was punished and taken down, just like Krogson, and Krogson's first death of the game as well. Hopefully that won't snowball into too many more. Meanwhile, on the top side of the map, Champion is actually pushing in Akkas. We're going to go to a little replay here.
So here's the roam. Grissom hex flashing in, trying to actually get the right position. Lands the hook. Looks like everything's perfect. They just can't get the last bit of damage on. And the Guardian arrives from the Bard, and they just turn straight onto Grissom, and then Krogson just arrives. Just say, you can kill me too by flashing over the wall.
Oh, and you see Dame Voxner running after the low health Lulu there as well. You can tell that he was just begging to be given the kill, but it wasn't to be for Dame Voxner. That could have made a big difference for him. He did get one assist up there at least. But roaming up to take part in that has, yeah, that's another couple of waves he would have missed as well. So yeah, still not looking too hot for the Jin right now, but definitely looking better for Barrage Academy as a whole.
Look at that mid lane. It is littered with wards already. They're trying to provide the security for Talon. They pinged onto him not long ago, trying to get Monkeys to come gank him, but there's too much vision around, so he actually sit quite safely. And he does have the Tiamat now. This is very, very important item for Talon. This is going to help him roam a lot more. And it's just the item he needed to actually start moving around the map.
Yeah, and on the other side, I'll talk about that in a moment, as it looks like Bushy has been forced to flash away. Good combination there between Dame Voxner and Yepao to lock up Bushy for quite a while and force the flash out of the Ashe. But yeah, just as I was about to say, in the middle lane, Krogson has responded, as you would expect, by picking up a very early Seeker's Arm Guard there, just to negate some of that damage that Lurks is able to put down. Level 6 now on the Talon, but being out-leveled at the moment by Krogson means that he's not going to win that trade.
Just want to say something to clear things up. It is Akka's top lane, not Merpilly in this game.
Oh.
So
Indeed it is.
don't get too confused on that front. Akka's has played a lot in general games. We've seen him a fair few times on Barrage, I believe. So,
yeah, so he's been a member of Barrage Academy for quite a while. He had been moved to sub to make space for Merpillion, but evidently he is subbing in for Merpillion today, so pretty much still on the roster. And on this Malphite, not looking too bad in this early game. Has that Null Magic Mantle as well. Ooh, Enchanter Crystal Arrow will sail well wide, and Akka's will be thinking, oh, that's not the end of the world.
not indeed. And to be honest, even if it did land it, I don't know if they have the follow-up damage to actually kill this Malphite just yet. We're getting that lane swap already early. They're looking for that priority towards that Rift Herald.
Champion's going to go in and stop the recall from Akka's there. Neither top lane are sort of willing to admit that both bot lanes are coming up, but in the end, actually, it might be Yepao that's caught out more than anything else. Tempered Fate goes down, does enough to keep the Bard alive. Transfusion, no. Does go down to the Hemo Plague in the end, and that's going to be a kill to Champion. And Yepao really stepping well too far forward on the Bard there.
Yeah, stepping too far forward and getting punished. They're all rotating around, so they're 4 members strong in this top side, so they should have priority on this Rift Herald right now.
Yeah, it looks like that's exactly what they are going to do. Masonic looking to make this work, and they lost their way a little bit there with the double kill for Flipper. The teleport will actually come in, so Barrage Academy definitely looking to contest, and that's already Monkeys going down really early on in the fight. Curtain Call off to the side as well, but then Voxner isn't close enough to remain involved thereafter. Lurks on the side, looking to try and assassinate Krogson, but he doesn't have the levels and he doesn't have the damage. Greason lands yet another hook, and the Wild Growth keeps the Nautilus alive. Then Voxner flashes over the wall and just about has enough damage in the end to take down Greason, and Barrage Academy extend their lead now.
Yeah, they come out on top really big in this fight. Lurk's picking up a kill, and then Voxner getting his revenge on Greason from that early punish.
Not only yet, Yepao with the magical journey into the middle lane as well, but Monkeys is back, Enchanted Crystal Arrow as well, and that's a very dead Bard indeed. The Glitter Lance doesn't land. Oh, in fact, oh no, the heal at the last second will keep Yepao alive, and Monkeys walked away from that one, trying to get the fadeaway kill, and didn't get it at all.
Just want to say as well, there's probably been a lot of pressure on Flipper in general, because a lot of people expect him to be a tank player. When you look at his OPGG, you just see mainly tanks. You see a bit of Graves, not too much of it, but you don't expect too much from him, and he's showing up on Lilia really big so far.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Flipper has been a big part of the successes that Barrage Academy have had thus far this game, and now he has that Rift Herald in his pocket as well, ready to crush the eye and drop down the Herald in any lane he pleases. Be interesting to see where he goes with that one. On the bottom side of the map, it has returned to normality for Barrage Academy, but they are laning up against Champion. Bushy is actually going into the middle lane, and Krogson has been reallocated to the top side of the map, so Masonic getting a little bit funky with their lane assignments for the time being.
A little bit of bullying onto his Malphite now. Malphite got his Bammy Cinder, so he's actually going to do a bit more damage and help with clearing these waves. I don't think we're going to expect too much right now, but look at that bot lane.
Oh, very, very high value control ward there. That's going to nullify some of the aggression that Masonic were looking to put on towards the bottom lane of Barrage Academy. Flipper was in the area as well, could have made it at least a 3v4. And it wouldn't have been too long before Lurks was able to get down there either. However, Champion committing that time towards the bottom side before coming up towards the middle lane means that Lurks was able to grab a plate in the middle lane, and he's looking to scale up on this Talon pick, because last fight we saw that while Barrage Academy did win, Lurks wasn't able to have a major impact. He got onto the back line and just couldn't blow anyone up, so he definitely needs to scale up a little bit more.
Yeah, he used all his cooldowns at the start of the fight, so didn't really get much else after the first kill. More or less just trying to be distraction, but getting that big burst of gold from that mid lane is really, really nice from here. But Vladimir's also getting towards his items. He's picked up his CDR, has a needlessly large rod. He will start to become strong.
Yep, once again, magical journeying away. He's been stepping pretty far forward on this Bard thus far this game. Sort of been on the edge of getting caught out more often than not. But on this occasion, he managed to take the portal to safety. His jungler is on the top side of the map, and Monkeys is on the bottom side, so we might see yet more aggression from Masonic down towards the bottom side of the map. In Voxner, Yepa will be getting very, very annoyed with this. I would imagine there's a lot of pressure has been put onto them throughout the game, but with Dragon spawning soon, they are willing to expect it, and the ward spotted out Monkeys anyway.
And look at that, Lulu and Malphite both recalling instantly. Both teams want to fight this dragon. They're looking towards getting the position, trying to clear out wards where they can.
Yeah, both teams not looking too confident to get that vision secured for the time being, though. Masonic actually backing away, giving a lot of respect to the side of Barrage Academy, who themselves are just now getting into the river itself and looking to clear out some of the vision and place some vision of their own, though there is going to be that ward on the dragon, so Masonic will be well aware of the fact that it has been started up. Greason lands the hook onto Voxner, but there's no one there to follow up. The unstoppable force comes through, and that's just a dead Nautilus. Greason lands yet another hook, but once again, I don't think this was a hook he wanted to land.
To be honest, I don't think that should be a dragon Masonic are going to contest, because at that point, Flipper had 2 levels on Monkeys, and it's a lot harder for him to even contest that. With 2 levels difference, he only just hit level 8. So it's going to be very difficult for him to even smite that away. And it just becomes a consistent take for Barrage and just pick up Greason there.
Yeah, and Greason just not on the same page at all with the rest of Masonic. And that's interesting, actually, because Greason and Monkeys, they are the 2 members of Masonic who have been around on that roster for a while. So you'd have thought they'd have been able to build up a little bit of synergy by now. But it's Greason expecting Monkeys to get involved in the fight, and Monkeys saying, no, thank you. You can hook anyone you like. I'm not joining you. So yeah, bit of miscommunication there between those 2. And, you know, that's perhaps not what we would have expected from those 2 members of the team in particular.
Some key items coming through now. Dustblade completed on this Talon. Haunting Guys on the Lilia. Some big power spikes coming through for Barrage Academy. 5 kills to 2. And the gold still isn't too far apart, so it's not even out the lead of Masonic too much. They can come back into this quite easily.
Interesting, we've seen Akers on that Malphite go straight for the Sunfire Cape after picking up the early Null Magic Mantle, evidently deciding that the Null Magic Mantle was all he needed to deal with the magic damage threat of Champion in the early game, and then putting a lot of priority onto that Sunfire thereafter.
Spellbinder on the Vlad as well. So Vlad's getting towards his items. That item hurts so much when you've got it fully stacked. So it can be a very, very scary item when he's got it fully stacked. Malphite Sunfire right now, so he's getting a bit tanky. Just needs to start stacking up on that MR as well.
Yeah, now a lot more being invested onto the top side of the map by Barrage Academy, particularly in terms of vision as they look to choke out the wards from the side of Masonic. That Rift Herald will be spawning within the minute. It's going to be getting closer and closer because it's been within a minute for quite a while now. Meanwhile, Monkeys just looking to shepherd on the bottom side of the map and make sure that Akers can't step forward and stop Champion from taking down the bottom lane outer here. As now Greason might be looking to land yet another hook. The minions are kind of in the way here, and Bushy will get some damage down, but it's not going to be enough. And it looks like Barrage Academy's bot lane will be able to escape for the time being. Meanwhile, on the top side, Flipper just absolutely demolishes Krogson. Where did that health bar go?
Flip says no escape for you, Krogson. Meanwhile, with that whole mid trade, Jeppe being really cheeky on this Bard this game, and he is getting away with it. This is just Bard in a nutshell.
The safety that magical journey can bring. Yepa very much aware of it and playing right on the edge of it throughout the game. Looks like we're going to go to a replay now to see exactly what happened on the top side of the map.
So we see Lurk's posturing like he's going to engage as soon as Lulu comes by. Just a bit of trade damage. Lurk's trying to get the solo kill here, but doesn't have enough damage yet. Lulu committed a flash there, so it's pretty much she's just dead to rights. Flipper just comes in to sweep the kill. They're waiting for the wave. Lurks is taking so much damage, he has to just leave here. Flipper just says, don't worry, I've got this. And goodbye to Croxon.
I mean, Krogson was low, but the damage on that swirling strike there was just extraordinary. And yeah, I mean, Flipper got a lot of kills early and is looking pretty strong on that Lilia for the time being. 3-0 and 3. And after all that about the vision on the top side of the map and the teams maybe gearing up for that Rift Herald, it has spawned and no one's putting a lot of priority onto it right now. No dragon spawning anytime soon either, as we have got the Cloud Rift. Yepahal going to run into Monkeys in the jungle here, but the Hecarim's actually going to be the one to seed for now. Griezmann goes for the hook and misses for what might be the first time this game, in all honesty.
Lilia is level 11 right now. She is the strongest member in the game right now. She is so strong. If they can shut down this Lilia, that's 300 gold bounty going back to them.
Ooh, Hex Flash over the wall. That forces the cleanse with the enchanted crystal arrow. Dame Voxner will be safe for the time being, but I think Masonic will feel like they can just do a bit of a rinse and repeat on that play. Flipper in the area to try and dissuade them from doing precisely that. Dragon will be spawning. That'll be the third dragon of the game. Barrage Academy already on 2, and Masonic will be looking to halt their charge towards the Soul.
Still more commitment around here, trying to clear out the vision while they can, but Flipper is around now, so it becomes so much harder with just this member alive. So if they can't get Flipper, I don't see them ever being able to contest objectives as it stands.
I want to say real quick credit to Dame Voxner as the turret goes down on the top side of the map. Champion managing to pick that one up. But Dame Voxner is now ahead on farm of Bushy after that disastrous opening to the game for Dame Voxner. Barrage Academy's AD carry has been able to bring it back, but now Krogson finding himself aggressed upon here. Lurks will go in as well as Akers, and they will pick up the kill. Now Griezmann is way too far forward with no support. It's a double kill for Lurks. 3-0 and 3 now on that Talon, and he's just about starting to get fed now.
I'm starting to think this Talon pick was just a big bait, I'm not going to lie to you, just for the fact that most of the damage is still be coming from Flipper, and a lot of the pressure just got put onto Lurks. They tried ganking him, they tried pressuring him down, they tried clearing any of the defensive vision what he had, and wasn't able to do a single thing to him. Meanwhile, Flipper just got stronger and stronger.
Yeah, for Masonic right now, I think what you're looking for right now is you're looking for that Vladimir to really come online, right? Champion 1-0 and 0, plenty of farm, comfortably out farming Akers. He's actually going aggressive on the bottom side of the map here, but that might not go too well for him as Flipper is in the area, flashes in, but will be pulled away from. Slick moves there from Champion as he's forced to flash as well, but escapes with his life and actually got Akers worryingly low.
Yeah, got him very scary low there, but Akers still living for now. Vladimir is getting even stronger right now, so this man could be a ticking time bomb. And in Square One, we've seen a lot of Vladimir. Now we're getting to see it here in the NLC qualifiers.
Yeah, absolutely. And Champion, if he can get rolling, he's got to be the hope here for Masonic, because the rest of the map's not going so well for them. Griezmann 0-4 and 1, Krogson 0-3 and 0. Neither of them having much to show for their efforts in the early game, and Griezmann's landed a lot of hooks. He's looked like he's been playing well, but he's not been landing at the right times, and 0-4 and 1 is the score he has to show for it. Monkey is not looking too strong on the Hecarim, certainly weaker than his counterpart in the jungle, and that's going to be a double sleep here from the Lilting Lullaby. Will be followed through with the Cosmic Binding as well. Bushy can just about escape, but Tempered Fate locks up 2 of Masonic. One of them will escape with the charge, but not the other as Krogson goes down. Now Griezmann popping the blast cone, but not the right way. He's going to be slowly chased down, but Lurks on the top side of the map deletes Bushy, who used both of his summoners as well. Griezmann will fall on top of it, and Barrage Academy have taken the wheel well and truly.
Can we just talk about the Watch Out Eat for a second? The Lilia damage was absolutely absurd. Onto 2 targets, taken down to pretty much 10%. And that just signifies how strong Lilia is. Leandri's fully completed. Jungle item, Merc Treads, and they're getting the Baron now. It's going to be very hard for Masonic to come back to this game. They really need to get a good Vlad flank, or maybe just Vlad getting solo kills in the side lane if he can.
It's all on Champion now, which is maybe something we might have expected going into the game. Definitely a carry player and probably used to being in this sort of situation, but we'll have to wait and see if he has the quality to do it. We're going to see a replay of how that fight got underway.
So here's the double sleep, which just set up everything. They got a TP straight in. They said, we're full committing for this. We don't care. Ash is completely out of the fight at this point. Where's the damage at this point? There is none. and that's the wash out eat damage onto the Hecarim. It's just absurd. Look at them. And on the backside, Bushy got ran down by Lurks. You can't escape the Lurks. Talon, especially in the jungle, and Grissom eventually dies too. So it's just a clean fight from Barrage Academy.
Yeah, Lurks truly is a prodigy with that flash Q there. Immense play from the middle laner of Barrage Academy as now Greason looking rather less immense on that. Nautilus will be taken so low, but with the flash should just about be able to escape. Leandri's taking on top of it, but I don't think it's going to do enough to remove Nautilus from the rift for the 6th time, but he will have to recall to the base, and as a result, they're going to lose the mid lane inner turret as well. Barrage really putting the squeeze on now that they have this Baron buff. Monkeys' flank has been sniffed out by Yepahao, who forces the jungler away. Krogson looking to step forward. Champion as well. He is the hope for Masonic, but he just can't get into the fight for now.
If you're at this point, if you're Masonic, you'd happily concede an inhibitor because you need to get some gold back into this game. There's nearly a 6k gold difference at this point. But they're for now holding on to their base. It's about to be cracked soon, so maybe they're just going to wait for next wave and might look to pressure it more. There isn't enough damage coming out from Masonic right now to really deal with them.
Yeah, they have seen Lurks on the bottom side of the map pushing in that bottom wave, taking the bottom lane outer turret for Barrage Academy. And as a result, Masonic know that it's 4v5 in their favor in the middle lane. So that's giving them a little bit of confidence. Monkeys wants to make it work, but the cosmic binding from Yepahao is beautiful. And that completely nullifies the attempted engage. Akers is low. He was holding up the rest of the team. The Hemoplague is big, but it's not going to be enough as Champion goes down. Lurks has arrived in the fight as well. Will be enough to take down Greason, and Krogson's on the wrong side of the fight. Will get the Zhonya's down for the time being, but it's only going to keep him alive for a couple of seconds longer as Flipper strikes him down on the Lilia. 4-0 and 8, 5-0 and 4 for Lurks. Barrage Academy putting on a clinic in this game after a shaky early game, and they will crack open the base of Masonic.
Really good attempt by Masonic there. They tried forcing the engage with Champion, getting a big Hemoplague, but it just wasn't enough. And you're just seeing how far ahead Barrage Academy are. They just able to kite back. Even with Den Voxnay dying in this fight, it did not matter. And they're turning the attention towards this dragon now.
Yeah, and it's his soul as well, and they're just two-manning it. Like, you can tell that Masonic just can't do anything. They ought to be trying to challenge this. Barrage Academy should not feel confident enough to take their Dragon Soul with just 2 members of their team, just the jungler and support in the area, but they know the Masonic have no way of challenging them. I mean, Barrage Academy didn't even set up vision on that side of the map. For all they knew, Masonic were running down there, but they just couldn't.
They just couldn't indeed, and Hecarim still is a little bit behind. We're jumping into the replay now, and we see the engage attempt. Hecarim got sniffed out instantly, so whatever damage he had, he got nullified. And Akers just trying to buy time for his team on the backside. Vlad getting a big Hemoplague, but then instantly bursted. So it didn't even matter. Lulu tries committing on the backside, picking up Den Voxnay, but to what avail? Lulu still drops in the end, and they just turn the attention towards that dragon after this whole play.
Yeah, back to live we go now, but that was such a lovely cosmic binding from Yepahao just to completely... He just made Monkeys impotent in that fight. Then Voxner stepping forward, looking to aggress onto Champion, who will be forced to use the pool away. Enchanted Crystal Arrow comes through, does hit onto a target, but it's Yepahao, and I'm not sure that's the one they wanted. Onslaught of Shallows will follow through as well, and Champion's on the back lines, but now then Voxner has managed to find enough space to open up the curtain call, and Champion is solo, taken down. Flipper low now as well. We'll get the Zhonya's, but it's not going to be enough to keep the jungler alive. Big shutdown now for Monkeys. And this is looking a little bit better for Masonic. Greason's hook hits the wall, forces him a bit further forward than he'd like to be, but the shield from himself and from Krogson allows him to stay alive for the time being. Lurks' flank has been sniffed out as well. And Barrage Academy will just say, okay, you won that one, we'll back off for now.
Masonic would be more than happy for this, especially the Hecarim picking up the kill, working towards that death stance. He's not too far away now. Getting that big shutdown on the Lilia was absolutely huge, and that's the prime target you needed to kill. And that's exactly what they got given.
Yeah. The style that Barrage Academy are playing right now, the sort of 4-1 with Lurks off on the side somewhere or other. Of course, you've got so much map mobility on that Talon pick, being able to leap over all the walls, but he just wasn't able to get in there in time for that particular fight, and he was thinking about the re-engage over the wall. It would have been very, very aggressive And exactly the sort of thing I'd expect for a Talon main, but he wasn't able to do it in the end.
Indeed, he wasn't able to get too much done in that fight. He wasn't able to just jump at that tower just with the Lulu sitting back. Lulu was pretty much just sat there waiting for him to try and attempt to dive in the back line. And that's all they have to do. They need to just keep the Lulu with the back line, protecting the carries, while the Hecarim and Vlad dive together.
Griezm's a little bit behind enemy lines here, but he is going to be able to escape to the safety of his top lane inner turret. Lurks hanging around with Flipper as well. Barrage definitely looking to consolidate control on the top side of the map because Baron Nashor has respawned once more, and the big purple worm is looking awfully juicy if you're Barrage Academy right now, and Masonic know it. They're trying to contest. They will use the Hawk shot to spot it out for the time being. That's not going to be used again for a while. They will, of course, have those two Scryer's balloons, or not the Scryer's balloons, sorry, the Farsight alterations to be able to spot it out on top of it. Lurks taking down the turret in the top lane as well. And now Barrage Academy do start up the Baron. It has been spotted out, so Masonic are aware. Meanwhile, Lurks on the top side has just deleted Krogson. Now he's going to get onto Monkeys as well. Lurks will be forced to flash away as Bushy is in the area, but he's going back in. The redemption heal comes through. Lurks can't get to the wall in time, but it doesn't matter. He's able to take down the AD carrier, Masonic. Champion is still alive and is still healthy. He's having to run for the hills for the time being. Flipper on towards him. Will get the Lilting Lullaby. It'll be Zonya's by Champion there, but there is the fourth shot. And Flipper on the backside picking up the kill. And now only Monkeys is left alive to try and defend the Nexus for Masonic. And Barrage are going straight for the jugular.
And that's exactly what Lurks has been prepping for the entire game. He had the vision control from his team to be able to be set up for that. And he even says, you know what, I'm just going to sell my items because this game's done. They're walking into the base. They're trying to end the game. Not much that Hecarim can even do here.
Yeah, he got that shot down, but there's nowhere near strong enough to take down in the 2-on-4 any member of Barrage Academy. They will switch their focus on towards the Nexus now, and they will take Game 1 of the NLC Fall Open Qualifier Round 1 Series versus Masonic.
Very convincing game from Barrage Academy. They looked very, very strong throughout this entire game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, in the early game, there was the hope from Masonic. They were winning in that very early game. They were putting Dame Boxner behind and putting a lot of pressure on towards the bottom side of the map, but they just weren't able to make those advantages pay. And that roam towards the middle lane is really where it all started to come undone for them. Flipper getting that double kill so early just allows him to just snowball so hard in that game, and he really took control.
We look like we're going to jump into a replay of the last one in the game. This is where the vision control really came in big. Lulu had to face check there and just gets absolutely obliterated. Then we move over to the top side of the jungle. We see Champion trying to recover this fight, but it's just not enough. He doesn't have the damage to kite all these members together. And a Lilting Lullaby hitting him was just the end of the show there because there's a fourth shot waiting for you when you come out.
In fact, it wasn't even the fourth shot. It was just the first shot, but it was empowered with the Storm Razor and the Rapid Fire Cannon as well. And yeah, Dame Voxner doing a lot of damage in the end on that Jhin, despite what happened to him early. So I think now we're going to throw you over just to a little break. And when we come back, it'll be the analysts' faces you see rather than ours. So you're welcome for that. And then we'll be back in a little while for Game 2. So see you soon.
Welcome back, everyone, to the SQ1 coverage of the NLC Fall Open, and that was a pretty conclusive game there from Barrage Academy. It worked out with that talent pick. That I was the one that said it was going to come through. Head analyst here, I think, can call me, but I think it was all down to the early game. We saw a great pick off in the early game there, and from there it kind of snowballed a bit.
Absolutely did. I think we saw that highlighted matchup, which we maybe could have spent a little bit more time on in the pregame, but you know, many things happen. Both junglers got involved in this game very, very early. First blood getting up to the hack room, but then Lilia just immediately starts just running across the map as she always does. And as a result of this, we had some very powerful champions on either side compared to the point of the game that they were in. And I think that Flipper really, really used that to his advantage.
Yeah, I think we do have to call that out because it was looking kind of rough for Barrage Academy earlier on to that game, especially after early on the Nautilus was landing some very good, very aggressive hooks, which did lead to Den Voxner looking very far down in lane at the beginning. Lost all his summoners, hadn't got farm for the first 3 odd minutes. It looked like it was looking fairly dire, and then they go for this play in mid lane. Flipper turns up, gets the double kill, goes on to snowball so hard versus Monkeys as well, which was really impressive to see. We have talked about how jungle is very snowball at the minute. We have talked about how these farming junglers can be absolutely deadly. We asked whether the guy could even play these farming junglers in a proper meta. He did. He did it with style. I was very impressed.
But from that double kill in the middle lane, it looked like as if that Lulu just wasn't doing what she was there to do. She was trying to 1v1, but still building utility. And then the Nautilus, he ended something like 0.607 on his KDA, and he just looked like he was trying to do proactive things, trying to get the picks when he just couldn't. He didn't have the backup of the team.
And a lot of that is because I think the way you would distill it down is saying that Masonic had basically the wrong people in the wrong parts of the map. It's about the lane allocation. We were seeing Lulu being dived 1v2 under the top lane out of turret. That shouldn't realistically be happening. The only person who was happy about the map state in most of that game was the Vladimir. Vladimir liked the game being slow, got a lot of fun. That's cool, that's great. But when your Nautilus is getting caught out every time because he only has one hook and he's often using it to go in instead of go out, Lulu has built a Zhonya's and an Ardent Sensor, doesn't have the damage, as you were saying, to try and finish off someone like a Talon in those 1v1 scenarios. Masonic didn't have the tools to fight the map that they kind of opted into.
I think as well, it was partly an issue of why are you fighting now? Is this kind of question where actually for Barrage Academy, they got their Lilia a little bit ahead of the curve, and then they also had Bard, Jhin, Malphite with a Talon to follow up. You hit one item, you hit 2 items, you are ready to go around those team fights. You get a pick with some long range CC, and you just blow someone up. They disappear off the map at that point. On the other side, it's a Hecarim that's a little bit behind, didn't get the snowball to the Trinity Force he wanted. You've got a Vladimir who really wants to get to a couple items before he starts going. Yeah, you've got the Ashe, but outside of the first blood was kind of a relative point of parity. That's not enough to be looking for these crazy skirmishes all the time, and you kept looking for them, particularly Grison and, of course, the Lulu as well, just went a bit hard and got punished for it because they weren't ready to fight.
So do you feel like it was a little bit of a drafting error, a bit of ease of execution error almost? Because we did see Grison get caught out quite a lot, taking some unwise hooks here and there, and then they weren't playing like as if they were playing the weak side bottom lane. They were able to get some vision around this Drake, or they should have been able to get some vision around the Drake, but then they had to give it completely up, and then they lost the ensuing team fight.
It's hard to say if I don't think it's entirely on draft. I don't think it's always entirely on gameplay either. I think that goes for every game. It's a very vague statement. But I think that as soon as it was getting to the point where Hecarim couldn't contest his own jungle camps, the game is very, very hard for Masonic. We talked about how Lilia and what does she do in a game? When is she powerful? She's really strong at just taking away camps, contesting everything, not being able to get caught in that same position either, because unlike the Hecarim Master throws body on the line to start and engage, Lilia can have that non-committal E throwing out. And when you've also got the Bard unlocked on the map too, Hecarim can't opt into those fights knowing that the Bard is missing for fear of Tempered Fate, the Magical Journeys, the Cosmic Bindings coming through as well to just bring a lot of damage in CC. I think that Barrage, once they got kind of their foot on the paddle, didn't really let off, and they played very, very coordinated to really make sure that Masonic didn't have any options left.
Yeah, and I think there's also something to be said for us when that foot ended up on the pedal. It was before Lilia had Runic Echoes, and the fact that she gets 2 kills, which snowballs her towards that Runic Echoes, which is the break point. Before that, Lilia doesn't farm that fast. At that point, she clears the AoE camps really quickly. It's the reason you can start Raptors and stuff and destroy them, but you don't necessarily clear the bigger camps, the solo camps, until you get that Runic Echoes a little bit faster. If you get that, you become a jungle lawnmower. You just go around and hoover up everything that comes towards you, and the fact you get those 2 kills early, and then get to go invade, and then get the snowball from there, it gets really rough real fast.
Well, I think if you need any replacement blades for said lawnmower, there was someone in the mid lane who had a couple going.
We had a couple of blades going.
Nice.
Yeah. I am like I know I predicted for the blind talent to come through, but then I'm also like, why did you? It worked out. It worked out. They predicted the Lulu into it.
They are 1-0 up. If they pick Camille mid next game, which
if they pick Camille mid next game, I'm just.
I need to see where you are. If your DMs are open to the coach, or you've been following LS's. If you got a script in front of you there, I'm going to be very upset.
I'll just throw the script away. It's fine. But what would you like to see changed up from the other side? Going into the next draft, is there anything particularly that you'd like to see changed?
That's a good question.
Nothing prepared for that.
Yeah, I think that I think a lot of it is just on the mentality and how you go about approaching the game. I think we were kind of sat there in call halfway through the game, just the load of us in the back room, just saying they're not really playing to their points of power. They're not really playing to their team's identity. And I think there's a lot to be said about roster identities and how a group of players plays. But when you have this kind of team fight, when you know you want your Hecarim on about 2 items. I mean, once you get that Triforce, which didn't come early enough for them, once you have that, and Vladimir, who's really far ahead, and you have an Ashe who's actually worthy of having that Lulu supporting them, that's when things start going very well. They were fighting way before that. As Sam was saying, they were losing a lot of big fights before Lilia even had her first jungle item. That's when you really know you probably not got the pacing of the game correctly. So I think there will have to be some questions there, particularly about how Grison on the Nautilus kind of transitioned away from the laning phase, because I think a lot of the bad fights did start off from Nautilus being in an awkward position, and that kind of dragged the rest of the team down a little bit.
I think to answer the question myself in terms of what I want to see change, I think the 2 options are either change the mindset or change the champions. I think I would rather change the champions, because I think the mindset itself is not a bad thing in terms of like Greason wants to play make, you want your mid laner going to follow up on those mid laners, be aggressive. That's fine, but then you need to have the picks to enable that. Nautilus is a good option, but someone needs to follow up and be the damage, and I don't think Lulu's that option. I don't think necessarily playing the way you did with the champs you did was the way forward.
So I know when we were doing like our dry run for this, we were talking about, what about these champions, Echo, Talon, they're not going to get picked, but blah. We did highlight Krogson's champion pool, and the Lulu came out as the answer to the Talon. In the dry run, we were talking about actually the top lane champions he plays in mid lane, pretty good into a lot of assassins. Talon doesn't have the damage to cut through a lot of tanks. You can go for a Conqueror build, which makes things a little bit awkward. But if you play Mordekaiser into a Talon, he jumps at you, you get your passive on. You can get some really good combos as a Talon, don't get me wrong. But if you play someone like Mordekaiser Shen, you can very much outtrade them and still be very, very bulky in the team fights, and then kind of be that backup front line when Hecarim is falling down a bit too. So maybe that's the answer. And that also answers Sam's question of change the champions to suit what the players really want to be doing.
Other option, just play around champion. That Vladimir ends up 100 CS ahead. 2 items. Beautiful. Just play a whole game for your top side.
Bit slower than what we saw there. We saw them having these playmaking abilities, or having the urge to make these plays, but not having the items to back them up.
Yeah.
And it just made them look like as if they just weren't prepared, or they just fell flat, or just, as you already mentioned, Alex, they just didn't have their team identity really there.
I think sometimes as well, it's just anti-snowball. You know, like Hecarim falls behind the Lilia, and suddenly the Hecarim that pulled off a great level 3 gank is now getting ganked himself, getting turned around. Lilia's there throwing out multi-man sleeps, and then there's a Bard and a Jhin following up from a screen and a half away. Like, sometimes you just get snowballed and really hard. So there's just possibly an element of that going against them, because actually the early lane phase of bot side as well was pretty strong. You just need to not have your mid jungle fall kind of that desperately far behind afterwards.
And I think particularly with this combo too, when you've got the Hecarim Lulu, it reminds me very much of, it's a similar kind of philosophy to people who play Swain. Vladimir's another champion like this, where you're kind of a drain tank, where your power is often about where you are in relation to the game. If you have a Triforce and a Death Stance very quickly into the game, and you have a Lulu giving you extra shields and heals on top of that, you do enough damage, and your damage equals sustain, that you can just run over most kinds of team fights. However, if you don't ever have to have like that extra bulk of HP because you're higher level, have more items, and have more damage to keep sustaining you up, the team fights just don't go well at all. It is the anti-snowball. That's the way of concisely putting it. So yeah, I think a lot of this will be a bit of a circular talk about, okay, so they fell behind, they didn't have the items, and they still wanted to fight anyway, and then everything kind of compounded itself.
So what'd you change?
Beat
Because
that.
Vladimir was ahead. He had Flame Horizon, 2 items. He was gearing up to reach that 3-4 item power spike where he could just mince through all of the squishies on the Barrage Academy lineup. But he just couldn't reach that power point.
I think not to beat a broken record, I think you need to play a little slower or play much more for the Vladimir. Or you need to probably move away from the Lulu, go to something with a little bit more agency in the mid lane, and go from there.
Well, we'll see if Talon gets through the draft 2 times in a row, or if they decide to pick it up. Maybe they will. Camille mid. Come on, Camille mid.
I have to say, if it comes to the point where Talon is being banned against Barrage Academy, that's the epitome of tournament meta. I love first day. I love the first day of a tournament. I love when teams are like, oh, poo, what are we meant to do about this team, this champion, this play style? If it is going to be the kind of thing where just because someone is so good at playing around their individual champion, even though it's slightly out of meta, that changes the pick and ban phase drastically.
Right. Real quick before we throw it to our casters, most valuable player, MVP for that first game.
Flipper.
Yeah. I'll join you with Flipper, but it's an honorable mention to Lurks, who had a fabulous debut game on the Talon.
Great game on the Talon, really showing why he's Challenger 1000 LP. We're going to throw it to the caster desk to get us into game 2.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. After game 1 went heavily in favor of Barrage Academy, Masonic will be looking to battle back here in the NLC Fall Open Qualifier Round 1. Now game 2 of this best of 3 series. My name is Jacob Aladar Hancock, and alongside me once again is Marcus Rael Samson.
And look at that. There's the Talon ban. We see it right there. They don't want nothing to do with it anymore.
And the Echo ban on top as well, right? That's just, they've double respected Lurks immediately. They didn't even ban that last time.
I think that's just Krogson just saying, I cannot deal with this guy. Like, he played Lulu, tried playing safe, and it just didn't matter. They just said, I can't deal with this guy. Let's just ban out his 2 most important champions and get rid of Dawn as well.
I'm getting whiplash looking from the left to the right of my screen here because the picks and bans are coming through at a rate of knots right now. Caitlyn has been locked in for Masonic, so Bushy will be going on to that. Slightly different to the Ashe pick from last time around. Definitely much more of a carry sort of champion than the Ashe. And on the other side, the Lucian has made his way through the ban phase. Hasn't made it very far into the pick phase. Going to be locked in for their first pick on the side of Barrage Academy. And Lurks, I don't know if he plays a lot of Lucian, but it's the sort of champion that I'd expect him maybe to play. Lilia made it through as well, and Flipper looked so good on that last game. But maybe Masonic is saying, if Flipper didn't get that double kill early, maybe that game goes differently. And maybe they're thinking, lightning can't strike twice. You never know. And on the other side, it's a Skarner.
Well, look at that, Aladar. All these bans towards Lurks free up Lucian. Lucian gets through. Not only does Lucian get through, Flipper gets his Lilia back again after dominating on this jungle pick. I'm very surprised that I actually slipped through, but they're showing that they are going to try to deal with it by picking the Caitlyn and also instant picking the Skarner. There was no hesitation on that.
Yeah, and that's interesting because I was just looking down at my notes for a second there, and next to Flipper's name, I've got Skarner, ? I've not got that anywhere on Monkiz' side, but yeah, evidently it's Monkiz picking it up this time around. And I think we've actually had a bit of an issue with someone disconnecting from this pick and ban phase. So we can talk about the state of play as things are going at the moment. Yeah, the Scion has been locked in, I believe, although maybe... Oh, no. So that Scion, I think, is actually not a Scion. If I'm understanding correctly, I believe that Scion is meant to be Morgana, but Krogson DC'd while hovering Scion.
Yeah, so it's going to be a Morgana. We didn't expect to blind pick Scion. You don't really see the champion as much anymore. So it's a bit of a surprise that even if that was to be locked in, so we don't have that. We have the safety with Caitlyn, Morgana, bot lane. Very consistent bot lane, used to get played so much. But I feel like all you have to do is just answer it with something like a Karma, and then you're going to be fine. So I expect that sort of response from Barrage Academy. They could go for the Karma, they could go for the Lulu. They have options still on the table, And already just having that power pick with the Lucian in the mid lane, Lurks just being able to sync up with Flipper is going to be insane this game.
Yeah, I mean, that's assuming it is going to be in the mid lane. It probably is going to be in the mid lane, let's be honest. But you never know. Voxner could pick it up on the bottom side of the map where Lucians used to be. Back in the days of yore, Lucians used to go down there, would you believe? So yeah, we are going to see the same bands coming through again, and this time it's going to be about the same speed as they came through last time, to be honest, but we'll get a little bit more time to discuss those. So it is the Echo and the Talon. Those are Lurks' two most played champions in solo queue. Those are the two champions he's by far the most comfortable on. And Masonic this time around giving him a lot of respect by taking those away. And then the Ornn on top of it as well, not willing to pick that one early in their rotation. I want to make sure that Barrage can't get it. And because of that double respect ban they did, that is what leaves the Lucian open for Barrage Academy, of course.
It is a shame that we still see them same top lane picks. I would love to see either the Fiora or the Camille slip through. I want to see like Champion on one of these hard carries. But nonetheless, they're banned away, so he's more limited on his options, and he's probably, well, he has to pick top lane in second rotation because they have the Morgana locked in. So he's going to be very limited in terms of top lane carries. He might even just be point on tank duty this game. We do not know yet.
So there is that Morgana. We can confirm now once and for all that it is indeed a Morgana. We saw the Nico hover coming in last time. It was the Eternal hover. And this time, it's not the Eternal hover, as now it is Nah. And Yumi? Okay, so I'm not going to talk about the hovers anymore, because evidently this is going to be taking us on a bit of a journey through these. But what are we expecting to see Barrage locking in with 5 seconds left to go?
It won't be a surprise with the Jhin here. Jhin Lucian is such a good setup right now. They actually debate me and go with the MF, which that actually caught me by surprise. I haven't seen MF played in team play for a little bit, so a big bait there.
Yeah, MF was high priority. If anyone was watching the World Championships earlier, MF was high priority in that particular quarterfinal matchup between Suning and JDG. Made it onto the Rift a couple of times. So I wonder if Barrage have been watching that and taking some inspiration. I'd be surprised if it was only this morning they decided that they were going to add that one to their arsenal, but you never know. Vel'Koz ban from Barrage Academy. That one is a bit of an eye-opener.
Yeah, they're showing that this Lucian could still actually go top, by the way. So getting Vel'Koz off the table is showing they don't want to deal with it. Lucian's just going to be fine against most mid laners. He just says, I don't want to deal with Vel'Koz, let's just get rid of him. Get rid of the long range damage. Obviously, they also have Caitlyn for that long range damage. They just want to make it more consistent for them and make it a bit more safer for Misfortune when she's channeling the bullet time. She doesn't want to get hit by Vel'Koz ultimate.
That is going to be the Bard band away from Yephahau, who played that one last game and played it to devastating effect. A couple of really highlight reel moments, honestly, for Yephahau in that game. Really nice Tempered Fates and just, that Cosmic Binding onto the flanking Monkeys on that very, very fast Hecarim. Very hard to hit, but Yephahau nailed it into the wall. And then the Azir, the Orianna, and the Vel'Koz. Oh yeah, we already mentioned the Vel'Koz. The Orianna being banned away, that is one of Krogson's main picks, one of his most comfortable ones. And Yephahau, speaking of comfort picks, Nautilus is what Yephahau loves.
Yephahau just saying, I see what you tried doing last game. I'm just going to show you how to do it. After putting on the clinic on Bard, he's shown up really big in this entire series so far. He just looked outstanding on the Bard. He constantly got low and just said, you ain't going to catch me. See you later.
There's the Cassiopeia. That was banned away last time by Barrage Academy in the second rotation of bans. And this time it makes it through. And Masonic decide they do want to take them up on that offer and pick up the Cassiopeia. So that's probably going to be going into Krogson's hands in the middle lane, you would have to expect. And then the Wukong will be their final one to round off the composition. So Champion will be taking that one up to the top lane.
Okay, this is the more type of champion what I expected to see him play. Wukong is still very good despite falling down in priority. There's still the likes of the Volibear open though. But Wukong did fall down in priority, still played to a very high level, still very good on the current patch. It's just other picks have become better, and that's sort of why people have lent away from it. But in the end, we're just going to get the reply on the Malphite again. Akaz is just going to sit back, farm, and be happy and just say, you ain't going to kill me. It's just going to be like last game. We're just going to be relaxing, chilling in top lane on our island, having no interaction.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, my heart goes out to Akaz because they left that right to the end to pick up that Malphite, and maybe there was the glimmer of hope that he might be able to play something a little bit more exciting. But, you know, there's very high impact ultimate. That can be pretty exciting if you get it right. So yeah, will be the Lucian then into the middle lane as well, is the other thing that we can determine from that fact. Dane Voxner going to be on that Misfortune, of course. So double AD carry threat coming through from Barrage Academy. And meanwhile, you've got the sort of slightly kind of the equivalent of a lot of sustained damage coming out of the mid laner from Masonic in that form of that Cassiopeia, but magic damage, of course, being the main difference.
So I want to talk a bit more about Masonic. So in the early game, they're actually shown a lot of glimmers of light, especially the bot lane, demanding a lot of pressure early, just putting down the hurt onto Barrage Academy's bot lane, especially early, and even getting that early kill. So, I mean, they have an early bot lane again. They have Morgana Caitlyn. Can they show up again and try put down that early pressure, but this time without being counter-ganked? They need to provide that protection for them. If they can do that, maybe this is the way they're going to play.
And the Morgana Caitlyn's a classic, right? You land the binding, the person's rooted there for centuries, you place the trap, it's easy as you like, a guaranteed one, really. And yeah, if you're Yebao on Nautilus, you're thinking, I've got a really big hitbox here, and feeling a bit nervous about those dark bindings that will, for certain, be coming his way. It'll be the Barrage bot lane, which is actually being barraged by Masonic, if I can look into my crystal ball for a moment.
So the thing you got to consider in this comp, right? So obviously Akka's went on to Malphite because they need more primary engage. But think about when Lilia gets a big sleep, if she gets 3 or 4 man, that's just going to be straight into a bullet time. There's not going to be much time for them to react. Once they get out of the sleep, they're going to be extremely low, if not dead. So that combination together is something definitely overlooked and is extremely strong.
And already onto the Rift for the second game of the series, second game of the day. Barrage Academy this time are going to be on the red side, contrary to what the graphic at the top there would suggest. Masonic are on the blue side of the map, and I wonder if we'll see a slightly different look at level 1. Looks like it's going to be quite conservative across the board, just sort of 5-point defense from both sides.
Yeah, nothing too surprising here. Skarner getting toward down basing for his sweeper right now. Just a classic sort of start. Both teams just 5 points, just pinging each other out.
Yeah, Bushy and Dane Voxner looking, well, does Bushy know about Dane Voxner? Here comes Yepahau as well. They're looking to catch out the Caitlyn here. Dane Voxner leaving the bush. The hook does land, but they don't have vision for now. They will get vision this time around, and Bushy will be able to escape just about, but forced to recall back to base and gain some of the health. And Dane Voxner actually looking to stop the recall as well. So yeah, that's Bushy wants to be getting back pretty sharpish now.
And there was
going again.
He's going again. He's looking to stop this.
Oh. No, okay, didn't get it. I thought the animation changed. I thought the Caitlyn would stop, but no, Bushy does manage to get back to base. And is this a bit of a delayed invade coming through from Barrage Academy? We saw this last time round from Masonic, but this would be a slightly later one than last time as well. Some level 1 shenanigans. Reason is in the area, so is Monkiz. Monkiz actually starting up that Raptor camp instead. Reason will be able to evade the dredge line coming through from Yebahau, but Monkiz now looking to collapse along with the support and the AD carry as well. But Monkiz so low and will be taken down already because Lurks was the first of the mid laners to respond. Now Reason tries to flash over the wall and will not make it. That's going to be a kill going into the pockets of Dane Voxner. And wow, that is a huge level 1 for Barrage Academy.
It's pretty much perfect case scenario as well, because guess who got the kill? It's Lurks. You got the Lucian first blood. Does that carry what you want to demand pressure early? He's going to be able to demand pressure for sure. And they're taking away the red buff, and it's definitely going to deny Skarner a fair bit here.
And Bushy is trying to do something, trying to stop Flipper, trying to maybe kill Flipper. Flipper will be forced out of the jungle after only taking the big raptor. But Bushy is yet to farm a minion, yet to even get experience for a minion. And just now will Masonic's bot lane arrive, and on top of that, Bushy is at only slightly above half HP. So yeah, Masonic, the bottom lane was their sort of their shining light in the early game last time around. This time, definitely not the case.
Definitely not the case this time.
And the hook lands from Yepahau as well. Dark Binding will delay the aggression from the Nautilus, and Dane Voxner couldn't get in there in time. Bushy, of course, having gone into that 90 caliber net early, does allow the escape for the Caitlyn.
Definitely allows the escape. Caitlyn under a lot of pressure right now, especially from this bot lane. Jeppe is constantly looking for these hooks, just posturing around this bush, just trying to be a constant threat here.
Yeah, and Bushy and Greason, they want, you're the Caitlyn and the Morgana. You want to be bullying this lane, but they cannot step forward right now. A huge wave being pushed into their turret, and Yepao already looking to try and consolidate control over the Scuttle Crab. So turning the pressure bot into a Scuttle Crab for Flipper, getting the advantage into the hands of their jungler. And Flipper, of course, was a major beneficiary. Got 2 assists, didn't manage to get a kill in that level 1 brawl, but did manage to steal away Monkeys' red buff, which could be huge here.
Yeah, look at the CS difference in the jungle already. 14 to 20. So Flipper starting to build ahead already. And obviously, when you take away these spies from Skarner, it really slows him down and is clear.
Yeah, Akka's also, with this wave built up, feels strong enough to maybe step forward and give Champion a little bit of hurt. But the CS, once that wave has been farmed, the CS will be slightly in favor of the Masonic top laner up there. But Monkeys is in the area as well, looking to make it more than just a CS advantage. It's a numbers advantage for Masonic on the top side of the map. Akka's will not have flash available and thus will not be able to escape. Champion picks up the kill, and that's a nice early gank from the Skarner.
And look at where that wave is in top lane. Wukong can freeze that wave. Akka's has no TP. This could spell disaster for Akka's. Wukong can get a very big lead here.
That's true, but I mean, if there's any champion that you want to fall really far behind on and know you're still going to be useful, I mean, Malphite's definitely up there. He's still going to be pretty tanky, and he's still going to have that ultimate available for major disruption to the enemy team. Lurks pushing in Krogson in the middle lane as well. Is yet to recall, will now do so as the teleport as well, and that first blood money on top of the 35 farm should be able to get something pretty major when he goes back to shop.
You could say disruption's the game, but Wukong's the name. Like, Wukong is very good at disruption himself too, especially with him having access to 2 cyclones in one team fight.
So yeah, the advantage now that Masonic will be able to build up on the top side of the map could be, once again, just like last game, it could be Champion that they're looking to carry them when things look bleak. He couldn't do it last time around in the end. Monkeys was trying to actually go aggressive on towards the bottom side of the map, but I think encountered a ward in the bottom lane bush and will reconfigure his gank path now.
Bit of pressure trying to come down onto top lane, but Champion doesn't have enough damage to be doing this shit.
Oh, wow, what on earth? Krogson picks up the kill as Lurks attempted to flash for damage in the end. Flashed directly on top of the Cassiopeia, but wasn't able to get any further auto attacks down. And Krogson winning that 1v1 with the advantage, of course, of that barrier.
Yeah, the barrier actually probably comes up really big there. We'll probably jump into a replay not too long into that one. Being able to check out what actually was going on in that mid lane.
That will be now a dragon as well for Masonic after Lurks slightly dropping the ball there in the middle lane after having gone back to the shop.
Here's the replay, here's the trade. You see Cassiopeia going forward. The barrier, yeah, literally life-saving. And she went into the bush, which denied vision. So Lucian couldn't even get that final auto to finish her there.
Yeah, I called it a flash for damage. That's probably a little bit harsh. He did need the vision, so it makes sense to flash into the bush there for Lurks. Unfortunately, in the end, it looked rather more unfortunate because he wasn't able to get the kill and went down himself. But he's still not looking too doomed in the middle lane, at least, for Barrage Academy.
No, not at all. And you can see why this Cassiopeia was banned. Look at the CS. It's pretty much even, so he's feeling a lot more confident on this. And look at the trade.
I mean, Krogson knows Flipper is there. He just has the confidence to go for it and absolutely pants his Lurks in the middle lane there. Flipper will be forced to use the Lilting Lullaby and will escape in the end. Monkey's only level 4 to Flipper's level 6. So he's not going to have so much of an impact right now if the fight were to break out once again. But Krogson saw that Flipper was there and thought, you know what? I'm killing you anyway, Lurks.
Yeah, not scared at all. Despite Flipper being nearby, Flipper doesn't have items yet. Before the jungle item, she is a bit slower. She's still ahead of the Skarner by a fair bit, but just Krogson putting up a clinic this game on the Cassiopeia, showing he is not scared at all.
Yeah, and he's certainly not scared just in general, right? His playstyle is to be not afraid, and sometimes that results in him dying an awful lot. As we saw last game, he died an awful lot. He tends to average a very high amount of deaths for mid laners in general. that sometimes if the coin flips in your favor, if you start winning these oh-so-close fights like that first one between himself and Lurks, then you can really start to accrue an advantage and start to win the game for your team.
Yeah, there's also quite a big lead in that bot lane. Look at the Misfortune. Nearly 20 CS up on this Caitlyn. The gold is still neck and neck, though. Only 100 difference right now.
Yeah, they've got the extra kill. They've got the CS advantage on the top side, countering the jungle and bot advantage for Barrage Academy. Now Barrage will be on towards this Rift Herald with 0 contest from Masonic. So they're just going to let Barrage Academy pick this one up as they swap their bottom lane to the top side of the map as well.
Yeah, that classic lane swap for that Herald. Flipper is around in his mid lane, but Croxon just isn't scared at all and has the backup of Grissom right nearby.
Yeah, Grissom being in the area, definitely helping the bravery of the Snake right now, as Akers has to head towards the bottom side of the map.
Look at this rotation on this top side. They're looking for a play here.
Monkeys has the ultimate as well. The Black Shield came through a little bit late to prevent the slow from the Make It Rain. And as a result, Monkeys will not be able to get anywhere near Dame Boxer and Yepahal. Griezmann's actually going to try and walk back to try and finish off that control. A bit of miscommunication there from Monkeys and the support. But now Krogson, the revenge has been found in the middle lane. It's Flipper who picks up the kill in the end. The Lurk did an awful lot of damage. And Krogson goes down for the first time this game. Meanwhile, Akers has soloed Bushy on the bottom side. Bushy has flash available.
The Rock's showing he ain't scared, laying the smackdown on this Caitlyn, and also that revenge kill we spoke about.
Yepa going in with the hook as well on the top side. That's going to take Champion low. Will be able to escape with the support of Reason. However, that is going to force Champion away from the turret. So Dame Boxer and Yepa are going to be taking down a few plates. And of course, here is Flipper with the Rift Herald. Will crush the eye and bring it to the Rift once more so that it can take down yet more plates on the top side of the map. They might even just be able to take down the whole thing here.
So look at that gold across the board. So far, MF has the lead and gold on side of Barrage. And Jungle as well. Nearly 1k difference towards Flipper. Flipper showing up on Lily again. This champion definitely should have been banned away from him after game 1. And he showed why.
I think we're going to go to a replay now to see exactly what happened to Cross.
So here's the sleep. Setting up the play pretty much just from there onwards. Not really much else you can do from there. You pretty much just caught out dead to rights. And this is the play on the bot side. Akers just dodging almost everything from the Caitlyn and just pretty much demolishing her.
Yeah, I mean, Bushy was just standing inside of Akers, just using the ace in the hole, trying to do everything he could to take down the Rock, but the Rock does not crack, and Akers picks up the solo kill down there, and that's probably not feeling too good for Bushy. And I mean, Bushy had flash available the whole time, but it's honestly hard to see exactly what he would have flashed there. Krogson now with the petrifying gaze, but it's going to be turned back around as Barrage Academy are in the area. Lurks over the wall, bringing the damage. It's 3 kills already. Champion goes in on the Wukong with the Cyclone, trying to do something. Might just about take down Yepahal, and does. But the kill gets returned. It is a 4-for-1 for Barrage Academy, and this one is going even worse for Masonic right now.
That's scary from Barrage Academy. They sniffed out the play what Masonic was trying to make. And Caitlyn yoinks the dragon anyway. She says, I'm not going to have this as a consolation, considering we just lost most of our team.
Yeah, and I mean, it is a consolation, but it does really take away Dragon Soul from being a threat that Barrage can put on towards Masonic at any point in this game. Now it's going to be a long time for them to accrue up 4 more dragons, as Masonic took the first Ocean Dragon as well. So that's a nice little steal for Bushy, and maybe, just maybe, giving Masonic just the tiniest glimmer of hope there.
Yeah, trying to give some hope across. They can still play for these dragons. That is a very big point of how they can come back into this game. They still have some decent scaling with the Cassiopeia, the Wukong in this team comp. It's just if they can get to these stages without falling too far behind.
Yeah, now it's just a question of what is next for these teams right now. Nothing really major objective-wise up on the map. So both teams just going to be sitting and farming up for a little while, you have to feel.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of farming up, just trying to get the CS back into their pocket. There's a big CS difference on that top side, but it doesn't matter because Malphite has 2 of the most important items. He has his Bammy Cinder and he has his Bramble Vest, so he's going to nullify a lot of the damage coming from Wukong especially.
He's got a bounty on his head. He's pretty strong, to be honest, with that solo kill and then a couple more assists and another kill in that extra little fight that just went down in the bottom side jungle. However, he might be finding another death to add to his collection unless he gets out of here sharpish, and he does so. Monkeys and Krogson were in the area, but Akers sniffed the rat and was able to escape.
So Lilia is nearly towards her key item. She has her Haunting Go. As soon as she gets the entries, that is just such a big spike, and it just becomes much more harder to deal with. So it's only a matter of time. Misfortune on her Essence Reaver working towards that Infinity Edge too.
Bushy quite far forward here, but does have the support of Monkeys and Greason just lurking behind. And speaking of lurking, Lurks is still in the middle lane. That will be the bottom lane outer turret taken down by Dane Foxner. He's able to get the solo gold on that one. Meanwhile, up on the top side, same story for Champion on the Wukong, who will take down Barrage's top lane outer. And yeah, just in the handshake there. Oh, hold on. This is going on here for Akers. Akers trying to roam into the lane, but will be impaled, poisoned, and taken down by the Twin Fangs of Krogson. So that's a little bit of a consolation there for Masonic. They won't be feeling too bad about that.
And if there's a shutdown you wanted and someone to pick it up, definitely Krogson, because so far he has definitely been the strongest player in this game. Definitely showing up compared to when he is playing the Lulu. Getting a shutdown would definitely help him in terms of getting relevant here.
But Masonic investing those champions up towards the top side of the map meant that they lost an extra turret on the bottom side, and they might be under pressure in the mid lane as well. As the culling is chunked, Bushy quite low. Monkeys is on the flank. Teleport's coming down, both from Champion and from Akers as well. Lurks in trouble with the Cyclone on top of him. Needs to escape from Champion, but will not be able to do so. And another kill has come through. That's Greason taking down Yepahal. Now Flipper and then Voxner are in the area. They can look to re-engage this fight. The health bars are in favor of Barrage, but the numbers are in favor of Masonic. Akers trying to do something about that as he will take down Monkeys, but the kill is returned. Flipper low with Champion on top of him. This Wukong is strong, and he's rolling over Barrage Academy. Krogson getting the final kill on the backside. That is an ace for Masonic, and they have blown this game wide open once more.
They've shown that they're not out of this game. They have came back with such a huge team fight. Wukong with his Trinity Force is such a big spike, and he's working towards that death stance now. They are still showing their confidence. They are not scared at Barrage at any minute in this game. And also just shutting down the Lilia on top of that team fight just makes it that much more better. Greason getting the binding on top of the Lilia, kind of denying them any re-engage there.
Yeah, and it was interesting that Barrage, even though it was 3v4, they still wanted to put pressure on that mid lane turret. They still wanted to maybe re-engage the fight as well. It was on their terms that the fight continued. And unfortunately, it was on Masonic's terms that the fight ended. So not such a good look for Barrage Academy, throwing away what was a hefty advantage in this early game. They still have the advantage in gold, of course. And every new fight comes a new opportunity for both sides in this game. So it's definitely not like Masonic are in the lead quite yet, but they are showing some significant signs of life, and they will have the mental edge. They'll have the momentum as well.
It's mostly the towers giving the gold over to Barrage Academy. 3 towers to 1. And that's really the only difference. Last fight, Cassiopeia was pretty much untouched, and now she has her Seraph completely done and her Zonya's completed. So she's going to be even harder to get on top of.
Yeah, wow, Akers going in aggressive. Yep, out following in an instant. The bullet time comes through, and Monkeys is taken down. Now there will be no smite left. Huge petrifying gauge from Krogson, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough. Champion trying desperately to escape. Ace in the hole will secure 1 kill at least for Masonic, but the Dragon goes to Barrage Academy, and it's a 2-for-1 trading kills in their favor as well.
Unfortunately, Bushy had no entry towards that fight. Despite that big petrifying gauge, there was no extra damage there. It was just the Cassiopeia trying to put out as much repeat damage as she could, but it wasn't enough.
You're going to see a replay now. Taking a look exactly what happened in that middle lane fight earlier.
So we see the pressure coming in right now. The Skarner coming in from behind with that flank, and this is what started it off. And look at that Cyclone, perfectly onto the Lucian, actually destroying him straight away out this fight. That's most of the damage just gone because Lucian's gone. Wukong still is looking to re-engage here, and you see him just kiting back. This is the dot binding I talked about, catching out the Lilia right there. And the Skarner goes down for the Malphite. Malphite dies to the tower, but look at Cassiopeia just arriving to finish this fight, pretty much.
Yeah, didn't even need the poison, was still applying Twin Fang off Twin Fang there, and did pick up the shutdown in the end after the second tick of poison did indeed land. So yeah, 11 kills to 11 now. Champion taking away the red buff, so a lot of eggs being put in the Wukong basket for Masonic this game, but he has shown his worth on that champion thus far this game, and Lurks was getting really, really aggressive in the middle lane, desperately trying to just poke away Bushy, maybe even take down the Caitlyn under turret, and because of that, he was stepped so far forward, he was in a lot of trouble, and he's in a lot of trouble again. The miasma going down, he's got nowhere to run, and Krogson picks up another solo kill onto Lurks, who is struggling in this game to find his feet. 3, 4, and 4. He's still pretty strong, but there's been a couple of moments where he's been exposed and caught out.
And this type of pressure we expected from Crogson's Cassiopeia. Gets through his bands, and he is bush sitting, waiting for his target, and picking up Lurks. He truly is getting his revenge this game, getting multiple solo kills onto Lurks this game.
Yeah, and is this what happens when you take the Talon away, when you take the Echo away from Lurks? He hasn't looked so good on this Lucian relative to how he looked on the Talon, at least. He's not looked terrible, to be fair, but there's been a couple of moments where you just think you don't have the same safety as you have on the Talon. You can't just hop over the walls, or at least not all of them, and just escape from any situation.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is not what you can do this game. Look at the bush sitting again. Pink ward, waiting for Lurks, waiting for someone to check this.
Oh, okay. Whew. With the Ardent Blaze, Lurks will spot out Krogson, and wise to it. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. And this time, it is... Oh, in fact, that goes the other way around, so apologies for that one. I messed that one up. But yeah, Lurks, moral of the story, Lurks got out just fine.
Yep, he did indeed. And Cassiopeia is probably on a fair bit of gold right now. She's looking to base, so they'll be looking towards pressuring now. Keep in mind, if they do get a pick, they can nuke Baron if Cassiopeia is still alive. So that's definitely one of the key options right now. And this game is still wide open. Look at the gold. It's still not too far apart, but it is 4 towers to 1, 12 kills to 11, 2 dragons to 1. So it's all to play for.
Yeah, Masonic might well feel that they can start pursuing the Dragon Soul on their own terms as well, rather than just denying any progress towards it from Barrage Academy, now that the game has evened out just a little bit. And you mentioned how Masonic have that super rapid Baron take if they want it. Well, the same's true of Barrage Academy, with the Lilia and then the double AD carries as well. Both teams can absolutely melt that particular objective. And so they're both going to have to be well on their lookout for any attempts to sneak the Baron and any sort of single picks which can just allow a team just to run straight there.
We need to see if Akers can find that prime engage again. The one near the dragon, which he got, the 3-man knockup was absolutely huge. He's just going to be looking to see when he can find another one of these engages, and this could spell defeat for Masonic if that happens. But they're playing quite smart now. They're delaying this game. They're trying to play safe around vision and not face checking anything.
Yeah, they're trying to secure some vision on the bottom side of the map are Barrage. That dragon will be spawning within a minute, and that is going to be the next source of aggression in this game. Both teams, you've got to feel, will be up for it. Akers is lurking on the side. That is going to be a huge ultimate if he can get it off, but he will be spotted out by a couple of control wards there, so the flank's not as effective as it could have been. And actually, this gives Masonic the inside line to the middle lane, where they'll be able to summon the Rift Herald and even out that gold advantage just a little bit here. Barrage forced to come in and try and deal with the Rift Herald. Oh no, the turret lives on the tiniest sliver of health. That is a tilter and a half for Masonic.
But it's not over yet. Look at both teams. They're both posturing for a fight here. They both are looking to engage.
Will it be Monkiz with the Impale, or will it be Yepahau with the Dredge line? It is the latter, and Monkiz has just melted away. Krogson will be shortly to follow, as well as Akers is on top of him. Manages to flash for some space, and actually might be staying alive just long enough. Flipper gets onto the back lines and will take the Cassiopeia down, but meanwhile, Champion has done the exact same thing to Barrage Academy. Dame Boxner, still full HP, still can output damage, but Bushy has the health, and he has the mana on top of it as well. Stepping forward is the Caitlyn, Dame Boxner and Bushy. It's a 1v1 between the AD carries, with Greason off towards the side as well. They both want it, but neither are sure exactly how much they want it. And I'm not sure if we're going to see anything more between these two, but they're still posturing. It's just a matter of honor now between them. Dame Boxer with the huge damage. Will he be able to take down Bushy chasing in? will be forced to back away once again. It's so edgy between these two. The ace in the hole! And it is the shutdown in the end to Bushy. And what a fight that was.
Oh my god, the delayed ace for Masonic. Wukong got another huge cyclone in that entire fight, which pretty much turned it on his head. But look at Barrage Academy, they're coming straight back for this dragon. They're bursting it down, trying to deny it. Here comes Wukong.
Monkeys is there, Champion is there, Flipper is not. This might just be a leash here that Masonic have been granted by Barrage Academy. The smite goes down and they will take the dragon. Lurks and Akkas getting a little bit ahead of themselves there. The Impale will prevent any more damage coming down from Lurks for the time being. Monk is forced to flash away. On the backside, there is Krogson in the area. Bushy has returned as well. I don't think this fight is going to progress any further. But that was a very interesting decision from Lurks and Akkas. They were committed, but it was not the right call.
Now you can finally breathe, Aldil. That was very hectic. Getting that rush down on the dragon, but unfortunately didn't pick it up. Masonic are the ones what come away with the dragon here. 3 dragons to 1. 17 kills to 14. The gold difference is down to just 1.6k now. Masonic are truly in this game, and Wukong probably has their stance completed on base. So here's the whole replay. This is going to be fun. Here's the initial engage. Skarner gets absolutely nuked, but the Cassiopeia getting the Zonyas here is huge. They chain CC her, but it's not enough in the end. Cassiopeia ends up getting the flash into the Petrifying Gaze to buy her more time. Then look at the Wukong re-engage. This is what turns the fight completely on its head. Wukong on the backline completely deleting that Lucian. And he jumps back in. They manage to actually shut down Lilia here. Again, absolutely huge. And then here's the posture fight. Here's the dancing about of who's going to kill who. His Fortune got some big crits, but in the end, it just turned on its head. The Caitlyn and Morgana end up slowly winning this trade out. This is a huge crit. It looks like it's just going to go one way and one way only. Masonic play it slow. They play their time, and here's the ace in the hole.
Ace in the hole, and actually, Bushy tried to use the ace in the hole earlier on the fight on towards Lurks as Dame Voxner and Akkas have died. That was such a long battle that we've come back to live, and Dame Voxner and Akkas are both dead. Dame Voxner has come back to life even. So I'm not sure what's happened, but Masonic have claimed yet more an advantage now. 19 kills to 14. The gold is finally in their favor. They have those 3 dragons, and is that the Baron they've taken as well?
It looks like they have indeed, because you see no Barons on Barrage Academy, so the Baron has been taken by Masonic. Masonic finally get their gold lead, and we will be jumping into a replay so we can let you know what happened.
Yeah, hopefully there won't be another fight going on while this replay happens.
So the ace in the hole coming in. Look at the perfect flank by Champion. Unfortunately, he doesn't get the first Cyclone off, but he gets the second. Picking up Voxnay there and trying to run down Nautilus, but Nautilus is a little bit too tanky, and that's when they turn their attention towards this Baron. Both teams posturing around it. Lilia trying to find the engage, trying to find the option to go in there. But still the dance around the Baron. And looking at Miasma, just keeping people out of the fight. And this is just a complete turn. While they take the dragon, they're just nuking Akkas down, and Akkas falls down eventually.
Yeah, and Lurks tried to get some more damage on the backside, but this is about where we came back to live last time around. And once again, we are back to live. This time, thankfully, no one has perished in the interim, but Masonic are starting to put some pressure in the middle lane. They've finally taken down that middle lane Alta, which lived on such a small amount of HP after the initial Rift Herald push. And now they're actually going to be forced away from the inner turret in the middle lane for the time being. But they've got Champion applying the pressure on the bottom side of the map. He's going to take the bottom inner turret down. Greason over the wall will land the Dark Binding. That'll be a little bit of chip damage onto Yepahal, but that's a very tanky Nautilus indeed. However, that will allow Masonic to step forward and take down that inner turret as well. They are starting to close the vice on Barrage Academy in this game, and Barrage looks so dominant throughout last game, but this game, there's just been moments where people have been caught out, not where they needed to be, people not on the same page. Then Voxner and Yepahal just getting caught in the middle lane before that Baron take that we saw in the replay was kind of inexcusable, to be honest, and it's really costing their team a lot right now.
It definitely is, and Wukong's able to pressure Malphite now, having Death's Dance, that lifesteal in his pocket, but he can just take any damage Malphite can put out here, so that pressure onto that mid lane now. They're trying to pressure it down. They have Caitlyn with a range advantage here.
Yeah, a lot of damage been put down onto Lurks already, but the Lucian's still willing to step forward, pushing away the minions for the time being. It can't be that long now before the Baron will be running out on all of Masonic, and they have accordingly backed away into the jungle of Barrage Academy for the time being.
Looking to play it safe. They don't want to throw their lead now. They're in the driver's seat. But one active engage.
Oh, he didn't do it. Okay, never mind. But Krogson might get aggressive. He might get too aggressive, forced to use the Zhonyas. And there is the bullet time ripping through Masonic. Hacker's on top of it as well. This is a wombo combo from Barrage Academy. However, it's a double kill for Bushy. Lux gets on top of him, though, and will take him down. That's a very sleepy Cassiopeia, and she can't poison anyone while she's asleep. However, having risen from her nap just to die, she did manage to get the poison down onto Lurks, who fell down as well. It is currently 3 for 4 right now. Now, Griezon will surely follow in a moment here, going to try and do the best he can to take down Flipper, but it's going to need another Dark Binding to land here. Griezon is trying to live for as long as he can, but Lilia pretty fast should be able to chase down the support from Masonic, but giving Griezon a lot of respect. And Griezon might just be able to escape. Here comes Dame Boxner as well, looking to cut off the engage, and well, we get to find out what's going to happen for that one in a moment, as Krogson once again having some internet issues, and the game has been paused.
You're trying to just buy time here. Griezon is actually doing a very good job of just leading Lilia around the map, but they did pick up the dragon already, so there's not really any objective left on the map. It's just a matter of buying time. We will be jumping into the replay of what just happened. So here's what started. Krogson got way too aggressive and had the Zhonyas early. And what's so important here, how fast the Wukong dies. Wukong not being able to disrupt this entire team fight, actually what turns it for Barrage Academy. And then they're just able to kite front to back. Despite Lucian putting out damage here, he's still going to fall down to the Cassiopeia poison. And I pretty much just think it's just going to be a matter of time before Griezon actually goes down. So yeah, pretty much. There we go.
Flipper was low. It's a good effort from Griezon there, but that is going to be the kill given over to Dane Boxner, who's now 6-3 and 10 on that misfortune, looking pretty good. Both AD carries in this game are actually looking rather strong, and similar story for Lurks as well on that Lucian, doing a lot of damage in that last fight. But you could tell how scared they all are of Krogson, right? Because he was asleep, and none of them wanted to step forward to wake him up. They're all terrified of what the sleeping snake would do. And in the end, it was Lurks, who did step forward and did sacrifice his own life to take down the Cassiopeia.
So the key story here, can they catch Champion again? Because Champion is the one finding these re-engages / second cyclones, which are just causing so much disruption in these fights. If they catch him again, that could be the story of them actually turning this game back in their favor. It is still neck and neck. Any team can win this. Look at the gold. It's barely any difference. 22 kills to 19, 56k to 55. There's barely any difference in this game right now.
Yeah, and I feel like we yet to see any very, very major sort of impact on the game from Munkers is Skarner as well. 1-6 and 9 at the moment. And I haven't noticed any impales that I've thought, well, that's amazing. That's really game-changing, that one. So, you know, the pick not really working out all that well for Masonic, I would suggest, but the game's still going pretty well for them.
The game is going pretty well for them indeed. Champion pressure in the side lane now. He is working towards that Sterex gauge, and it's just going to become that much more tankier, harder to deal with, and just much more harder to kill in these team fights.
Champion aggressing on towards the inhibitor turrets. Akkers will be there and will prevent Champion from getting too ahead of himself on the bottom side of the map for the time being. In fact, Champion is going to recall, has the teleport available, might be looking for some kind of flank. The Baron has respawned, and this is definitely going to be the arena for the next battle between these two teams. And it has been so back and forth so far this game. 22 kills to 19. Every time one team gets an advantage, the other team wins a fight. So in theory, it's Masonic's turn to win the fight. We'll have to wait and see about that one.
Look at Misfortune's items, by the way. She has the LDR fully completed, so that armor pen in there is absolutely huge. Akka's losing his flash on that backside, by the way, from Champion there.
Wow, that's I mean, he's not lost any health, and he's just flashed. That's huge respect and concern about what could be done to him. Monk is looking to get aggressive. He will get the impale down, but it's only onto the Nautilus, and that's not the target he was looking for. Bullet time is interrupted by Champion, who's running rampant on the backside of Barrage Academy right now. Yepahau has fallen. Bushy and Krogson are full HP. The petrifying gaze comes through, but they're not full HP anymore. They're taken so low, and Lurks has been doing so much damage. It's so close. But in the end, it's Barrage Academy that win that particular fight. Only Monkeys and Greason left alive, and those two only just. Barrage Academy will push in the middle lane, and then they'll head up towards the Baron pit.
I think that fight was way too forced by Masonic there. They could have just played with time here, but instead, they're the ones that forced the engage. And because of this, Barrage Academy are able to front to back with Flipper and Lurch, putting out so much damage. They are looking around for a steal, but he is spotted out right now, so Lucian is going to go over to the side a little bit, ready to deal with Skarner.
Yeah, I mean, Monk is... He was not spotted out where he was, and he had the Hex Flash available, but he tried to walk around and did eventually get spotted out. I'm not sure he had any vision in the pit, so maybe he was looking to try and see what was going on in there, but in the end, nothing he could do, and Barrage Academy will take this particular Baron, but you know, we've seen Masonic with a Baron pretty recently, and they certainly did not end the game off of it. So I'm not sure how huge of an advantage this actually is for Barrage Academy. The next dragon is spawning soon. That's going to be a big one.
Next dragon is definitely going to be a big one. They're already pushing around it right now, starting to push out any vision which is placed down, getting full control. They can firmly just look for this engage. Look how tanky this Malphite and Nautilus are right now. And the only person who can really shred them is this Cassiopeia, because Caitlyn doesn't have any pen yet.
Yeah, tempted engage here for Barrage Academy, but the Miasma will prevent Akers from using the Malphite ultimate. Champion on the flank, but will get spotted out by a control ward. Good vision from Barrage Academy to prevent Champion from getting in towards the backside of their team. Yepahau looking to shepherd Champion even further away. Monk is getting aggressive, but can't find anyone for the time being. The fight is so close to starting, and that might be the dark finding that does start it off. Stoneplate was popped by Akers, and that means even though he's impaled, he's not going to be taken anywhere near low enough. Krogson and Greason got so low off the bullet time as well. Flipper on the backline will bite time with the Zonyas and will stay alive. And this looks awfully good for Barrage Academy right now. Yepahau will help Dame Voxner to pick up that kill. Now, once again, Barrage Academy regain the advantage in kills. They have the advantage in gold. They have the Baron. They're not even bothering with the Dragon as they look to run straight into the base of Masonic.
So notice what Yepe and Akers did in that team fight. They both just waited to deny this Wukong engage. Yepe denied him his initial walk-in, stopped him for a little bit. Soon as Wukong jumped in, Malphite ulted him.
Monk is doing what he can, but I've seen this one before. He died on the Hecarim last time. He dies on the Skarner this time, and now it's only Greason left alive to try and defend the Nexus. He cannot do it, and this will mean that after a bit of tomfoolery, Barrage Academy will secure their place in the second round of the NLC Fall Open Qualifiers by taking the series 2-0.
Gotta say, it wasn't as convincing as the first game. This game was definitely a lot more shakier, and Masonic put up a very good team fight in this. So them able to stall out this game was a big story of why they was able to come back into it, because it looked dangerous when Krogson was getting these picks in the side lane.
Yeah, absolutely. That game could have gone either way. Either team could have won that at pretty much any point, to be honest. It was really, really, really close stuff. And that was a great game to watch. I enjoyed it very much. And let's see just a little bit more of it right now. We've got a little replay of the fight that ended the game.
So here's where it starts off. Wukong is trying to flank on this backside. Keep a close eye on Wukong. He's trying to find his entry. Caught out by Yepahau on the side. And then look at the bullet time, lowering everyone to so low. Wukong gets in, but then instantly Malphite ulted, and he's just denied any disruptability there. And on the backside, Lily is just buying time for her team. She will actually pick up Caitlyn on the backside, but then there's nothing else what can happen here. Krogson is just taken down. And at this point, they just run it down mid and end the game.
Yeah, I mean, in that fight as well, Flipper did so much work, and he's done so much work in both of these games. His Lilia has looked really, really quite something, and we did not realize that he had that in his arsenal going into this. We thought, this guy's a tank player. He liked playing tanks in the jungle. What's he going to do in this meta? It's not going to suit him. Evidently, it suits him rather well, as the Lilia shows. Two great performances from him. And now we will throw you back to the analysts to round up this series and give you their final thoughts on exactly how this went down.
Whew, what a game that was. In the end, Barrage Academy taking the win, taking the series win 2-0. It looked good for them at the level 1. They got that first blood on the Lucian, then they got second blood onto their MF, but they just lost it somewhere in the middle. 15 minutes in, they got aced. What
They
happened?
lost it not just in the middle, they lost it in the middle lane too, because there was a scary snake in the grass. Very different game out of
Man
course in this game. The Lulu we saw in game 1 really not making the impact that Masonic would want. We talked about changing the picks rather than changing the playstyle to try and support what this team tried to do, because in game 1, the 1v1s weren't necessarily looking out for Croxon in that Lulu versus, of course, Lux's solo queue Talon famous pick. Brings out the Cassiopeia. Turns out, even with that early first blood on the Lucian, was not enough to secure some of those later 1v1s.
No. And things got a little bit dicey in terms of the skirmishes just happened everywhere, and there were advantages traded everywhere. The MF was leagues ahead of the Caitlyn. The Wukong managed to get into the backline and was way ahead of the Malphite in the early parts of the game. We've already talked about how terrifying the Cassiopeia was, and it kind of meant that whoever stayed alive, say the Lilia and the MF versus the Cassiopeia and the Wukong, won the team fights, and it went back and forth so many times across that game.
And we don't really want to be harping on about Lurks, but he did look a lot more uncomfortable on this Lucian pick. We saw him in the top lane where he got solo killed by the Cassiopeia because he didn't face check the bush, but when you go near the bush, all she has to do is Petrifying Gaze into Miasma and then just throw out those Twin Fangs, and he's just dead to rights. Nothing he can do about it. And in a competitive setting, yes, this is his first outing in a competitive setting, but he needs to learn these lessons fast.
Yeah, we don't want to be too cliche, but when we are talking about new players, a lot of the same talking points come up. One of them is, what risks could you make in solo queue that you can't make on a competitive stage? That's kind of one of them. If you end up not checking all your boxes, getting killed when you're trying to farm up and scale into teamfight relevancy on a Lucian, things get a bit awkward. And then because Lucian wasn't winning the side lane, and actually on the other side of the map, Malphite had to build Merc Treads because the amount of CC on the other team wasn't having the easiest time versus the Wukong, which is a favored matchup for that champion normally. The side lanes did not really go to plan for Barrage, and they had to fall back onto that team fighting, which they did do. They did end up doing that, but it wasn't the easiest path for them.
Yeah, and let's not make too much bones about this. Actually, Lurks had some good plays too. But the issue was that with those good plays came some advantages you just gave away. On with Lucian, you are always playing on the edge anyway. You have to be going forwards, being aggressive. You want to be looking for those plates, those 1v1s, and that's great. But to do that, you need to have a lot of awareness about when you can do something, where you can do something. And we kind of had this conversation between the three of us kind of partway through the game and went, actually, that Lucian could be 3-1, not 3-4. And that's a big deal. In the end, they still come out with the win, and there was some fabulous sort of team fighting prowess that did eventually get them that, but they didn't necessarily make it the easiest for themselves.
No, it was a very messy game from both sides. It was, I mean, you could describe it as messy, you could describe it as scrappy, but there was a messy team fight around the 4th Drake, and it was a great turnaround from the Lucian, but it still felt like as if both teams were struggling to find their pressure point really in the fight.
I think a lot of it came down to who could shut down carries cleanly. And we saw that go both teams' ways throughout that game. We saw a couple of times, particularly actually when the mid lane turret fell down. Eventually, the fight which happened just before that, we saw a lot of teleports being used, and that meant that the Lucian kind of got a bit out of sorts. Mess fortunately had to flash away, but particularly in that dragon fight too, things got very, very close.
Yeah, and I think some of it as well is there's also a certain amount of you make the engage but get outplayed, and I think Krogson pulled that off once or twice. The Nautilus, Jeppe Howe doing some fantastic job with some of the stone plates to turn things around as well, where it's sort of like in that particularly messy fourth dragon fight where it did end up in this ridiculous ending where Caitlyn Trap plus an ace in the hole gets the kill onto Den Voxner, who managed to cancel an auto to fail to kill the Caitlyn just before that. Like, there were some errors in there too, but you have also got to give praise to people like the Zonius to cancel out the Malphite ult and the MFL at the same time for Croxton, who then gets to flash away, puts on the Seraph's Embrace, has Conqueror healing, gets out of vision in the bush. Like, there's lots of little things in there as well, which do turn that around. And when effectively what you had was multiple carries who were very strong trying to outplay each other, sometimes it just becomes a matter of who manages to just about outplay the other. And yes, it came with some mess. Yes, it came with some cancelled autos. But even so, I think we have got to give a little bit of credit to particularly say Krogson in that fight, for example, who did manage to outplay a lot of the engage.
Well, before we talk about MVP of that game and then MVP of the series as a whole, a talking point that we had quite a lot throughout the game was at 20 minutes, no QSS. The QSS came online for both the 80 carries on the side of Barrage at 32 minutes into the game.
Well, we're talking about this at 20 minutes. Like, I'm sorry, Lucian had 2 items. Like, you're into a Skarner, a Morgana, a Wukong even, Cassiopeia. Like, there's so much CC. The QSS task for tax. There's the word I'm looking for. Task. Well, it kind of works too.
Skarner tax if you want. Yeah.
It's life, death, and Skarner tax, right?
Exactly. I've clearly been playing too many RPGs. I'm turning the QSS buy into a task. But the fact that kind of wasn't a consideration till 32 minutes was insane versus that amount of CC.
Particularly when you've got carries which do very well on their 2 crit items, because both Misfortune and Emma, and Misfortune and Lucian, that's the other one, are carries which don't necessarily need their 3rd item to be team fight relevant. You can just have your 2 big AD, big ticket items. Lucian, of course, goes into the Infinity Edge 3rd with the Muramana build, but you don't necessarily need something like a Misfortune Fire Cannon to make sure you're online in a team fight, because you can just keep running around. And when we saw in that 4th Dragon team fight, for instance, if you'd had the QSS, you can tank the Morg Binding and keep running forward if you want. You can do that in that 1v2 at the very end of it. So when it got to the point where both the carries were on about 3 items, and then you kind of see more crit points being built up, you're like, there are priorities here, and I appreciate them on a solo queue level. I do, but it's not exactly what is going to get your team the win in the most safe way.
Especially when we were seeing Croxon hitting these petrifying gaze and just hitting it onto 2-3 members of Barrage, and then there was no QSS to try and get out of there. And as Initialize mentioned throughout the game, there was no Mikhails because you don't really build it on a Nautilus, because as Alex, you said, it feels bad. It just plain feels bad.
Yeah.
However, caveat is it's Mountain Rift and you go Stone Plate. Stone Plate, very, very efficient item, gives you a lot of resist for the item. For the item price. It's not great on someone that wants to do damage, but when you're a support, that isn't as relevant unless you're someone like Brand. And Stoneplate Brand is not something I should ever see in League of Legends. So if Nautilus was stood in the front line, we could see just the... It's almost like you just have a time deficit for the enemy team. There was that one fight around the mid lane, I'm trying to remember, I think it was after that Dragon fight, where things started turning back into Barrage's favor. And we saw, again, this whole problem of who's shutting down the carries. Well, you can't get to the carries through a Stoneplate Nautilus with 2 Mountain Drakes, 3 Mountain Drakes. You pop that shield, he has another lump of HP. The Cassiopeia didn't have Void Staff, really, really big thing. And then eventually just got to the point where Lucian would find a time to finally dash forward, get the huge crits down, which in fairness, the damage items, which were gone foregoing the QSS, ended up being very, very relevant. And because Lucian then finally had the time bought for him because of this very tanky Nautilus, the team fights went very handily in favor of Barrage after that point, really.
And do you like this Rylai's pick by the Cassiopeia? Because it felt like as if that was more for pick, for lockdown, rather than playing around the team fight, which
it is good
what they wanted.
Lucian MF, if they get tagged by that, they can't team fight anymore. Not really. It means that if you get hit by 1 poison, Cass keeps chasing down, has of course the speed up from the Q when it hits. Between that and the slow, Misfortune doesn't have any dashes inbuilt into a kit. She's just removed from the team fight. We saw Lucian get soloed several times by the Cassiopeia too. Not always due to the Rylai's, of course. Krogson played those 1v1s very, very well. But the problem is, it turned away from Cassiopeia versus the carries. It became Cassiopeia versus the whole damn team.
Yeah. And also there was some target selection issues, which did become problematic. I think actually our glorious producer Reed has managed to pick up a pretty good replay of one of those crazy fights for us to go through.
Oh, really?
Well.
Ooh,
Yeah.
nice.
Oh.
Look at this. I think this is the one where Krogson managed to find himself caught out stepping too far forwards. And I kind of talked a little bit earlier about how the Cassiopeia managed to time the Zonyas super well to kind of time out the engage in the earlier Dragon fight. This time, the Zonyas is timed out the other way. She survives a long time, but does eventually go down in this fight.
No, but look, if you look at Nautilus's HP bar and how much of it is gone before anyone else's is even touched on the side of Barrage, that's still very, very important.
Huge.
Of course, the poison comes through at the end to finish off the Lucian, but just I really want to praise the support play out of this Nautilus because sometimes it can go a little bit passed over. I think that Barrage as a whole were pretty organized when it came through to all of these team fights. Of course, not everything was firing on all cylinders, and they'll look to improve on some of the ways they approach some of these team fights and the setups to them as they go further into this tournament. But there's a lot to work with here, and I have been relatively impressed with what I've seen.
And if I just before we drift away too far as well, so I'm so sorry. I just wanted I was gonna say that
Crack the whip, Dara.
I was like. I think we did want to talk a little bit because it's just the target selection was sometimes just really off in those late game team fights. Just really off.
It felt like as if, we can speak to it being growing pains perhaps because it's a relatively newly put together roster, and then Lurks, it's his first competitive outing, but it felt like as if they were kind of going for, okay, I'm going to go for this target because it's closest to me. You're going to go for that target, even though they weren't really focusing one champion particularly down. And think in that replay that we saw there, they were focusing Krogson, but then they just split off into two different avenues as they were trying to chase champions down.
Yeah, well, Krogson, I think Krogson at that point, and particularly in that replay, kind of realized it was on his shoulders. And we've seen many instances throughout League of Legends history where that has turned on people's head. I mean, the Jensen Echo moment in Game 5 versus TSM, Faker's Karma against Samsung in the finals. Sometimes you have these players which are going to be remembered for these moments where they were in a position of power and they didn't quite manage to secure the win. Sometimes they have been mischaracterized. I'm not going to say, oh, Krogson lost his team this game. No, he was the reason they were in the game. He was the reason they were in the game. And also, I do think that both top lane games out of Masonic were something to be noted of. I think that the Vladimir in game 1 was the only shining light in that game. And in this game too, the Wukong, particularly in the first couple of fights, which started going the way of Masonic's favor, shutting down Lurks as he's tried to dash in to do that damage, which you said in the late game was so relevant. Well, before he got to those items, it was Wukong that was shutting him down a lot of the time with the help of the Cassiopeia. So yeah, I think that Champion in that top lane deserves a bit of a shout out too, because of course, fortunately, they have now lost this one. They'll have another chance next weekend. But for now, this is their run over.
Yeah, and like when Wukong could tie up multiple carries, it was fantastic. Champion did that quite a few times, but as the game came on and as Lilia became as much of a threat as the two AD carries, and yeah, you got onto Lucian, great, but that MF ult just killed 3 of your people. Lilia has flashed into the backline to solo kill your AD carry while your Cassiopeia is dealing with the rest of the team. You eventually just run out of frontline tankiness because Wukong's not the tankiest person ever, and if you can only tie up 1 carry out of the 3, then the fight's lost anyway, unfortunately.
Now, gentlemen, the time has come to select the MVP of that game and then MVP of the series.
Wait, did we agree on the game one?
I don't know.
We did. I think we agreed on the game one.
I'll take you. You call it Hex. I'm not sure I can remember. That's a bad sign.
Okay, I believe we came to the consensus that in that game it was the AD carry, the Voxner, who was player of the game. Really wanted to put a shout out to Jeffrey Howe, actually. I think that was looking back at the replay, I'm like, that was really good, actually. However, our player of the series will be going over to the jungle, and that will be, of course, Flipper. We said coming into today, he had come down from the main roster of Barrage and perhaps had something to prove. So I think that between him and Jeppe Howe's performances, both of which are in the same kind of position, this is a very, very good start to trying to prove themselves worthy of that main roster spot again.
Yeah, we asked the question whether he could play some of these carry junglers. You know, we thought he might be a little bit stuck on the tanks, and you know that Lilia was fabulous. Really, really was.
Yeah, both games that he played, and I'm curious as to how this will proceed in the games coming up. Because is it worth banning out the Lilia, or he might just default to the tank play then, and then he could play Volibear, Sejuani, whatever he kind of wants to play in that role there. But so I think we are agreed with the Voxner being MVP of that game, and then. We have Flipper as the MF. MVP. You made me say MF. As MVP of that series. So, do you have any closing remarks
Subliminal.
before we close out? Close out today.
I think when, like I said, day one is a really fun day of a tournament because it lets you benchmark so many things, regardless of meta, how individual players are playing, how teams are playing, and what you think the average level of the tournament is. I've been very entertained today. I'm a color caster by trade. I'm someone who has to look at and explain why teams have done something good or bad. There was a lot of good things here to point out. A lot of good individual plays, a lot of very interesting plays, and I was thoroughly entertained. So it bodes very well for the rest of this tournament.
And I would like to give a little bit of a shout out to Pixels Bar in Leeds for having us on their screens there. So thank you very much for watching, everyone there. And everyone at home, of course, for watching the Fall Open from the NLC, courtesy of SQ1. And now I'm starting to ramble as it's getting quite late. So I'd like to thank... Oh yeah, we do need to do social media. That's a thing. So everyone, follow us on social media, SQ1. SQ1 League, I think it is actually.
On Twitter,
on Twitter. And then you can also follow us and our wonderful casters if you want to see our tweets of memes and nonsense and everything else. We do give some analysis, at least these lads do. I do sometimes as well. But thank you very much for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow to continue our broadcast for day 2 of the NLC Fall Open Week 1. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Ride or die. I keep boys by my side. CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice. Cody's brothers, my guys. Know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side. CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice. Ride or die, ride or die, ride or die, ride or die. Now I gotta ride or die. Ride or die. Know that they ride or die.